Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael McGillicuddy. I'm the man on the left in this picture. The man on the right is Mark Passio, and he is an outstanding individual and teacher and human being. 3 or 4 months ago, in Acapulco, Mexico, I thought I had it all figured out. I was attending Anarchapulco, the anarchist convention held by Jeff Berwick and the Dollar Vigilante. And I thought I had it all figured out. I knew everything about government. I knew everything about life, about relationships, about how the world worked. Until Mark Passio's speech at the end of day 3, when he said, "We anarchists have no idea how the world works. We have no idea, but we think we do, and that is why we are losing." And that is unfortunately the case. The good side is losing as the world gets closer and closer to the Third World War, which could be ultimate destruction, or destruction for most of us. And so, since his talk, I've been researching about how the world really works. I put together some of his research. What you are about to see is his own research. And I've taken in a whole lot of information, so now it's time to put it back out. The date is May 1, 2018. It is sunset on a very, very important day of the year. I'm looking over a beautiful Asian countryside field. The wind is blowing. I'm on a rooftop, so I hope you don't mind if you hear that and those natural sounds, maybe some dogs, birds, people, wind. And this will be a presentation on why the world is currently in a prison condition, how it got to be like that, and what we can do to truly free ourselves permanently. Again, this is not my work. I'm taking the work of Mark Passio, whose totality of information you can find on www.whatonearthishappening.com. Again, whatonearthishappening.com. I very strongly suggest you check that out. Okay? Before we begin, a few things. The first is there is no time for this. There is no time to spoon feed and baby feed truth and information in dribs and drabs for little baby. I don't want it. Here, this is too much. This is just way too much. There is no time for this anymore. It's too late in the game. I'm just going to let it out how things really are. Second, take account of your teachability. What that means is an individual's teachability, or their ability to learn by way of being taught by someone else, is extremely dependent upon the open-mindedness or closed-mindedness of the individual being taught. Low teachability derives from arrogance and rigid skepticism, but also from naivete and gullibility. High teachability derives from a balance between healthy skepticism and an open-minded willingness to learn and change. This picture nicely illustrates it. You don't want to be too far onto the left where you're too arrogant or cynical. I already know that. Neither do you want to be too gullible or naive. Really? It's like that? Instead, you want to be right in the middle, being a mixture of a teacher and a student, open to new information, but still with a healthy amount of skepticism. So don't take what I say as truth, do your own research, but I think I'm going to make a very solid case for what I'm about to say. Secondly, the scope of the information being presented today is so enormous that it could not possibly be conveyed in a time frame measured in multiple years, let alone in a one-day seminar or a few-hour YouTube video. Please fully realize that this material is completely introductory and is merely intended to whet the appetite of the potential student for further learning on one's own. Finally, for those of you who do not already deeply understand that the current human condition is slavery, I fully recognize that, at this point in time, you may not even be able to consider with an open mind much of the information in this presentation, due to a lack of prerequisite knowledge. If you don't believe that the current human condition is slavery, you're a bit behind in the game. Finally, you don't need to believe in any of this, because others believe in it and act upon it. Possibly the most naive and foolish mindset on earth is the notion that I don't need to look into that stuff because I don't believe it's real, and so I don't think it has any effect on me. This is the equivalent of stating that no one's crazy religious beliefs can possibly affect me, even if they violently act upon those beliefs in a way that can do me extreme harm. Ask yourself the question, can religious extremists act upon their beliefs in ways that affect people who don't believe what they believe? Meaning, can you be affected by somebody who goes and shoots up a Planned Parenthood? Or could you be affected, even if you're not a fundamentalist Christian? Or could you be negatively affected by people who believe very strongly in Islam? Or perhaps have a certain skewed view of it? I'm not sure, I'm not an expert. However, they act upon it through a bomb, a knife, a gun. Might you still be affected, even though you don't believe in that type of stuff? I'm going to present Mark Passio's information now. He was, for a long time, in the Church of Satan, which he says was a dark occult organization. We'll learn what those words mean. But an organization connected to the people currently running the world. Yes, there is a group of people running the world. It's not a conspiracy, it's the truth. Here is his personal involvement. Be it known, on this day, March 1932, that's 1998, because they started the Church of Satan in 1966. Coincidentally, the year that Rosemary's Baby was produced and published, I guess? Anyway, it says, be it known, on this day, March 19, year 32, 1998, Mark Rokar, that was the demon name that he chose, has been appointed to the office of priest of the Church of Satan, and is empowered to act in that capacity by Anton Sander LaVey, with a little devil tail. Just an aside, March 19 is a very, very special day to these satanic psychopaths running the world. And I'll explain what satanic here really means. March 19 was the day that the Iraq invasion occurred. And it's also the day that the Libya invasion occurred. Just a coincidence. Also, their season of sacrifice, when they do a lot of their little dirty tricks, such as the false flag attack in Syria the last 2 years, their season of sacrifice ends on May 1st, the day in which I am sending out good energy into the world. And as further corroboration, May 1st, 2003 was when George Bush pulled his little mission accomplished stunt where he landed on the aircraft carrier, and it also was the day in which Osama bin Laden was said to have been killed. Coincidence? No. Okay, on 20th of March, 1998. Dear Mr. Rokar, Dr. LaVey has been favorably impressed with the skill and mastery you have shown in various opportunities to represent the Church of Satan and Satanism in general. You have proven yourself to be magically and materially adept. Therefore, he felt it was high time you were granted the title of priest in recognition of your dedication, knowledge, and ability. Congratulations, Reverend Rokar. Please keep us abreast of your activities, interviews, and musical releases. May the fires of hell continue to strengthen and inspire you. Hail Satan! By Blanche Barton, which was Anton LaVey's wife. Interestingly, the Church of Satan has its headquarters in San Francisco, California. No wonder San Francisco is such a freaking weird place. Anyway, this is Mark's personal background. I was born into a traditional and typical Roman Catholic Italian-American family from South Philadelphia. In my youth, I accepted without much questioning a great deal of the religious dogma which I was given by family members and school teachers. In my late grade school and early high school years, I began to question those dogmatic beliefs. Because I lacked the knowledge of astrotheology at the time, which could have helped to put that religious indoctrination into perspective, my unanswered questioning turned to extreme anger, which I acted upon by gravitating to Satanism, an ideology which I then perceived as the antithesis of the belief system into which I was born. So basically, Mark was raised Catholic, realized this is all a bunch of bullshit, started asking questions, nobody had the answers, so he figured, alright, instead of being a Catholic, I'm going to go the total opposite way, I'm going to worship Satan. This is Mark's personal involvement with the dark occult. He said, I began to espouse through my writings and music the ideology of LaVeyan Satanism, the branch of Satanism which I originally familiarized myself. I formed a satanic death metal band called Insanity, which was signed to a European recording label and released an album called Divine Decomposition, which promoted the satanic ideology in its lyrics. Eventually, some of my work was recognized by Anton LaVey, the high priest at the time of the organization known as the Church of Satan. In March of 1997, Anton LaVey appointed me to the rank of priest in the Church of Satan. I was offered to head a grotto, which is how Satanists refer to their local congregations. I turned down this offer because I then viewed Satanism solely as a personal ideology rather than a group endeavor. So I could have gotten the year wrong when I said 32 was 1998. Maybe 1996 was 1, therefore 32 was 97. Not sure exactly. Anyway, the top left picture is Mark at that time. He doesn't look like the healthiest and happiest of human beings. Below that is his album cover, Divine Decomposition. To the right is Anton LaVey with his Satanic Bible. Mark says, the Church of Satan was not what I thought it was. He says, as my involvement in Satanism grew, and I attended meetings and rituals held by satanic groups in my tri-state area, I began to become aware that this was not an isolated group of individuals who were simply working with occult knowledge for their own personal reasons as I was doing. These groups of Satanists were comprised of an eclectic array of people from every walk of life and every social institution, including politics, banking, media, law, military, law enforcement, entertainment, technology, medicine, and education. These were people in positions of great influence and power throughout our society. I became aware, through my interactions with them over time, that they were not working separately toward their own individual goals, but instead, they were working together toward one common goal, which was to increase their own collective power at the expenses of everyone else's rights and freedom. Mark says the Church of Satan is a low-level organization which puts out feelers to find out the truly psychopathic. The picture on the left is the application for active membership, and part 2 is a psychological profile. They'll ask you 40 questions to get an understanding of what kind of person you are and the best way that they can use you. One of the founding members of the Church of Satan, or maybe not the founding, but anyway, a high-ranking member was Michael Aquino, A-Q-U-I-N-O, who is also a lieutenant colonel, and maybe still is? No, he's dead. A lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army who worked, they say, with the CIA and other organizations specializing in mind control. So some of their early members were very adept at psychology, which is what Mark says these dark occultists really are, that they really understand our psychology, and they keep that knowledge hidden from the rest of us so that they can gain an advantage over us. This is what he means and I mean when I say Satanism. Satanism is an ancient occult religion comprised of diverse, interconnected networks of worldwide adherents. At its ideological core, this religion postulates that knowledge of the human psyche and knowledge of the laws of the universe should be occulted, that is, hidden, and held only by a few human beings. It is much more accurate to perceive Satanists and dark occultists in general as ancient psychologists who hold and wield hidden information in ways which exploit those who remain ignorant of it. Through the power differential they gain by way of manipulating those who remain in ignorance of this occulted or hidden knowledge, this small minority who are in the know wish to permanently rule the masses of humanity and effectively become God on earth. It is important to understand that, contrary to popular belief, the overwhelmingly vast majority of Satanists do not worship an externalized deity known as Satan in the Christian tradition, but instead see Satanism as an ideological way of being in the world, and they view the ego-driven self as the god of their religion. I took a collection of Mark Passio's presentations. This one comes from Demystifying the Occult, Part 2. The question is, why name it after Satan? The symbolism and trappings of the Christian devil or Satan are used in modern Satanism for two reasons. The first is to try to make outsiders see Satanism as just another quaint religious belief that is based upon traditional Christian belief systems. And it's true. When I tell people about this, they go, yeah, right. The second is to associate itself with the adversarial dynamic in nature, referred to as involution in the occult world, the force which opposes true evolution. Evolution means to turn outward. Involution means to turn inward. The force which opposes true evolution in consciousness. The word Satan comes from the Hebrew word shatan. I believe I said that right, meaning adversary or opposer. Satanism is ultimately about being opposed to the true order of natural law, that is, the universal laws of morality, which govern behavioral consequences of beings who are gifted with the capacity for holistic intelligence and free will. Sorry for some of the typos. It's really not a big deal. However, I do apologize for that. This is why Mark decided to get out. Because he still possessed some conscience to a certain degree. The awareness that I had become involved at a very low level with such a sinister organized syndicate made me take a step back and reevaluate my worldview and my actions. I came to realize that these low-level satanic groups were actually operating as a psychological vetting and filtration system for a worldwide hierarchical system of totalitarian control, based in the ideologies of dark occultism. Low-level satanic orders, such as the Church of Satan, act as an interface with the public and serve as a wide-scale effort to locate people with certain personality traits and skill sets, which the larger network of dark occultists desire to exploit for their own purposes. Such individuals are then groomed for placement into positions of power within social institutions in order to advance the predetermined group agenda. This is how easily Mark got out. Upon understanding how these satanic organizations worked and how I was being used, my conscience would not allow me to proceed any further, so I pulled away from any continued affiliations with these groups. They were completely unconcerned that I did not want to be further involved with their agenda and that he was going to expose them. One Satanist actually told me, "Do your worst," when I expressed the desire to expose their plans to the public. He said that I would be, quote, banging my head against a concrete wall for the rest of my life. Another told me that the general population was already so completely mind-controlled by dark occultists that if they themselves went public with their plans and explained to people what they have already done and what they are planning to do in the future, that the public would not even accept the truth from them. Years later, and after much deeper research into human consciousness and light occultism, I eventually began teaching others about the influence and manipulation techniques employed by these dark occultists, their profoundly warped ideologies, and their global agenda for totalitarian control, which many have come to call the New World Order. And I heartily recommend, after this presentation, check out his work, especially the other videos or the podcast series, starting at number 1. It is great stuff. So the question is, will you listen to people with direct experience? He was in this group for about 10 years. You saw the letter, and the question is, if you were going to play a sports team and somebody from that team joined your team, would you listen to what they had to say? They do it like this. This is how they run their plays. This is how they think. This player plays this way. These guys play this way. Or would you say, you don't know what you're talking about? No, we're not playing a game. There's no game. There's no teams. We're just kind of bumping around and things just sort of happen. Or will you listen to those with direct experience? This is the world today, inside of a cage. However, this cage has a key, and this cage is largely self-imposed. Question is, why is it like this? We're going to get into the why, then we're going to get into the how, and we're going to finish with the what. We're going to go dark, and we're going to go down to hell, basically, but we're going to come back up, and we're going to end in heaven. So stay with me. Okay. The reason things are getting worse and worse is most people are ignorant of what is true. Most people follow one of these false religions. In the top left, you have the two political parties, or the political system in general. I remember a close family member, I asked him what his morals and principles are, and he said, the principles of the Democratic Party. So, there you go. Top right, many people believe in one of these not true religions. Sorry if you take offense to it. However, each of these religions has a small kernel of truth. You know how they say, some of the religions, they kind of just say the same thing. that kernel of truth is natural law, which we'll see in a few minutes. And the outer external exoteric forms is just all the BS stuff that's not important, but which takes the most importance in its adherents' minds. In the bottom right, we have the New Age movement, who go and sit in a park and meditate, and I love to meditate, nothing wrong with that. However, thinking without action is a waste of time and gets nothing done. And Mark said, and I believe it, the New Age movement is largely put out by the dark occultists to confuse and neuter strong and enlightened individuals. You know the truth? You want to know? You want to make the world a better place? Okay. Go sit in a field. Don't talk. Just breathe. And then, maybe in 10 years, everything will be better. Really? Yeah. Okay. I'll try. Not getting it done. Finally, bottom left, the rigid belief in science. I love the truth. However, most scientists, oh no, I can't believe that. That's not true. Except if it's published in a journal. Oh, then it must be true. And finally, the belief in money. Money, money, money. The goal is not to acquire things. And this is something that I came to a stark realization to a few months ago and have since realigned my values. Living a good life is important. Living a true life is important. Money is a substitute. Money is actually a distraction, I'll say that. And people say, well, if you have money, you'll have more influence over people. I would say, no, you wouldn't. Jesus had a lot of influence over people. He didn't have much money. Same thing with Buddha. Or at least, what's his name? Gautama. He was born a prince. He had lots of money. Didn't really affect many people. Gave that all up and sought the truth. Sought wisdom, understanding, and enlightenment, and then had an effect on people. If you're waiting to get a bunch of money, and then I'll do it, you're waiting for a day that'll never come, because you'll never have enough. This fiat currency is designed to make you poorer. Poorer, poorer, poorer. And chasing after it is a surefire way to waste your prime years in a distraction. So knock it off. None of this is true. We're going to talk about the exoteric versus the esoteric real quick. At most of the world's religions' core is the truth, meaning esoteric means intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people who with specialized knowledge or interest. I don't want to read all this stuff. You can pause it and read this if you want. Anyway, what this is saying is all these religions have a kernel of truth to them. However, most people focus on the outside trappings that are not important. We're going to go to the truth, and that truth is natural law. Nothing to do with nature, not the law of butterflies and squirrels and trees, but the law of the universe. The word nature comes from an Egyptian word, natur, which means relating to God, through which it came into Latin, natus, from which we got naturus, then natural, etc. Anyway, natural law, a.k.a. the law of cause and effect. That is, effect invariably follows cause. For every action, there exists an equal and opposing reaction. Also known as the law of attraction, but the real law of attraction, not the selfish crap. I just want so many things. I just want to find my bliss and my happiness. Not enough. And you're going to build your castle on the sand, as I will explain in a bit. Anyway, the law of attraction. The energy you emit is the energy you attract. Energy flows where attention goes. As you think, feel, and act, so you shall be. Karma, it's also been known as. You reap what you sow. Or the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done to yourself. And in Chinese, if any 中国人 are listening, 中斗的斗 中瓜的瓜. I got nervous speaking Chinese in front of you. Anyway, this is what natural law is. And this is how it works. The recognizable workings of natural law in human life take place through 5 basic expressions. Each of these 5 expressions has a positive and a negative aspect, giving us a total of 10 overall natural law expressions. We're going to see. Each of these expressions has a positive aspect and a negative aspect. It really comes down to a choice, whether you walk down the road of consciousness or unconsciousness, the positive road or the negative road. We're going to see where these two roads lead. The first thing we're going to talk about is the generative polarity. It's been said there's no such thing as heat and cold. They are two extremes of the same spectrum. Same thing with light and dark. There's no light and dark. They are on the same spectrum, just at opposite ends. The same thing with love, and the other side is fear, or consciousness and unconsciousness. Okay. When we start with love or consciousness, we get this. The positive aspect of the generative polarity is love. In regard to natural law, love should be seen as the expansive force for consciousness. Love is the force which helps us to become open to truth and expand our awareness. Okay? Conversely, the negative side is fear or unconsciousness. The negative aspect of the generative polarity is fear. Fear is the contractive force for consciousness. Fear is the force which influences us to become closed to truth, and the force which ultimately shuts down our awareness. Those who exist in the amygdala, always afraid what's gonna happen. If you put this woman or man's face on if you do his or her expression, try and learn something. You can't. You're closed. Okay. If we start with love, we will get knowledge or the acceptance of truth. Yes, you can know the truth. The truth is simple. You can figure it out. You are a human being. Your consciousness and understanding is infinite. You have infinite worth. You can do anything you want if you have consciousness. So, if we start with love and consciousness, we will get knowledge or the acceptance of truth, and we'll become like this guy. The positive aspect of the initiating expression is knowledge. Initiate means to begin, or the acceptance of truth. Knowledge positively influences the quality of our lives because it positively influences our decision-making processes in every area of our lives. On the other side is ignorance. If we start with fear, we will be ignorant, or I should say ignorant. That is what that word ultimately means. The root of it is ignore. Not unaware, but where you ignore it. You don't look at it. You refuse the truth. You'd be like these people. Everything's okay. The negative aspect of the initiating expression is ignorance. I'll say it like that. Or the refusal of truth. Ignorance negatively influences the quality of our lives because it negatively influences our decision-making processes in every area of our lives. If we don't have knowledge, we're going to make crappy decisions, which is what we're doing, and which is what I'm trying to stop. It is important to remember that ignorance should be distinguished from nescience. That word means not knowing. Nescience means not knowing because necessary information is not present or unobtainable. Ignorance, on the other hand, means not knowing even though necessary information is present because that information has been willfully refused or disregarded. Oh, that can't be true. Oh, what will people think if I talk about this? Oh, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to look at it even though I really have the feeling that it's true. I'm really talking to myself right now because for a long time I ignored this information to my detriment. Thomas Jefferson, not the smartest guy in the world, but smarter than a lot of people, said, "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be." Mr. Socrates said, "The only good is knowledge and the only evil is ignorance." And Mark Passio said, "Willful ignorance in the presence of knowledge is the measure of a bad person." He quotes himself in his own presentations. Good for him. All right. On the other side, if we have knowledge, we will get sovereignty or internal monarchy. After the initiating expression, we'll have the internal expression. Everything starts from the inside out. If we have knowledge, we will become sovereign, or we will have an internal monarchy, meaning a government of one. We will control ourselves. Oh! The positive aspect of the internal expression is sovereignty, or what I call internal monarchy, literally one ruler within. As a state of consciousness, sovereignty means that one has unified the three aspects of their consciousness, the real Holy Trinity, such that there is no contradiction between one's thoughts, emotions, and actions. Most people say they want stuff and maybe feel it, but they don't do anything about it. They sit in a field and breathe. Just breathe. Not getting it done. Sovereign comes from the Latin word super, above, and the Latin noun regnum, rulership, control. When Latin became French, the U became an O, the P became either a V or B, and then souverain entered English. French became English, and then we got the word sovereign. Sovereign means one who is above the rulership or control of another. Sovereign means not a subject or a slave. Bam. Okay, the opposite of sovereignty and the next step after ignorance is confusion. Oh, shit. The negative aspect of the internal expression is confusion, or what I call internal anarchy. That means no ruler within. Confusion is the state of mind in which the being is ruled by fear and ignorance. I don't know. What should I do? I'll tell you what you should do. Okay, I'll listen to you, controller man. Confusion could be seen as internal opposition or being torn apart from within, such that one's thoughts, emotions, and actions are in perpetual contradiction to each other. And that is most of the world, 99.999% of the world. The people at the top, they are not confused. They know exactly what they want, and their thoughts, emotions, and actions are in one line. They're getting it done. And the good side, most of them are arguing with each other about what the best way is. They're like the little giants in that movie, the 1994 movie, who are fighting with each other in the huddle over who should be the quarterback. And I want the ball. No, when am I going to get a play? The other team accepts their assignment and their role, and they carry it out to perfection. And that is why they are crushing us. However, it doesn't have to be that way. If you align your thoughts, emotions, and your actions, first get knowledge, then ready yourself, and then go out into the world, as we will see later on in this presentation, things will change. Change within, then change without. Okay. After sovereignty, we have freedom. That is the external expression. And that is external anarchy. Pa-ching! The world with its chains unbroken. Just as a little aside, this is the book cover of a fantastic book called The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. The End of All Evil. It is fantastic. And it is so simple, and you will learn a ton, and you will love it if you're a good person. The positive aspect of the external expression is freedom, or what I call external anarchy. That is, no external ruler. True freedom for all should be seen as the goal of spiritual development. Such a state can only manifest as a result of human society's adherence to natural law. There's a saying, I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard it, that the Buddha, upon reaching enlightenment, was about to transcend and go off into the other dimension, and he thought, wait a second, if I'm the only one here, that's not a lot of fun. And then he went back and started to teach. The true goal is enlightenment for everyone, not just yourself. And then Buddhism was taken over by dark occultists who say, hey, you want to help society? Go live up on the top of the mountain, sit in a room in the dark, don't say anything for 10 years, and then come down and beg for food. That's how you're really going to change the world. Oh, okay. The opposite of freedom is control. Bam. These guys, or what we call external monarchy. The negative aspect of the external expression is control, or what I call external monarchy. One external ruler. All governments, you're just ruled by one person. It doesn't really matter. All that stuff's just a bunch of details. But it's really another person has control over you, and you have to do them or these people will come and hit you hard. Control is the pathway to all forms of evil and destruction. It results when a society lives in direct opposition to natural law, as we currently do today. However, natural law is very simple, and once we harmonize our actions in accordance with it, things will get better and these freaks will disappear. However, these guys are on the street because people do not control themselves. So the universe says, okay, we'll send these guys to control you. Twist it up. The final step after the external expression is the manifestation, the result we create, which is order! The positive manifestation is order, or manifested goodness. Order represents everything we say we want. Order results only when there is balance or justice, which can only be present when truth has been accepted and our behavior has been brought into harmony with natural law. And no, not social justice, which is just pointing the guns of government at people that you don't like. That is not true justice. Do not follow that garbage religion. Social justice, Jesuit people. You're not getting anything done. You're making a worse and worse world through your actions because you refuse to understand the truth. Peace and freedom for all. Finally, after ignorance, confusion, control, comes chaos or manifested evil. Bam! Which is what we have right now, just on a more slow motion scale. The negative manifestation is chaos or manifested evil. Chaos is the exact opposite of what we say we want. Chaos results when there is imbalance and injustice, which results whenever there is ignorance of truth and behavior which is in opposition to natural law. And I saw these people actually, not these directly, but I saw that man in the blue shirt who's running away and like, Mexico City subway, 6:30 in the morning at, what was this? I can't remember the station. A busy station. And the train comes. No lines, everybody just crouched to the front, and somebody literally pried the door open with his hand so he could get a seat on, and everybody just tsunamied in. It was horrible. Because these people don't understand natural law. So this is the way it works. You start with love, you get knowledge, you control yourself, there's freedom in the world, and then there is order. Might not be perfect, but it'll be a hell of a lot better than what we have now. Just as if somebody who exercises regularly, eats a healthy diet, sleeps well, drinks good, clean water, he might get sick every now and then. However, he'll get sick a lot less than somebody who drinks alcohol, smokes cigarettes, stays up all night, sleeps all day, eats crap, never exercises. He'll get sick a lot more. And our world is getting sicker and sicker because most people are afraid. They stay ignorant of the truth, they're confused, they are controlled, and therefore they get chaos. So those are the two expressions of natural law, either positive or negative. This is the law of freedom. This really got my attention back in February. The law of freedom says that freedom and morality are directly proportional, meaning as morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. Another way of stating this law would be to say that the presence of truth and morality in the lives of the people of any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. And this is where I really got it wrong. In the USA, our freedoms are getting less and less. More and more control, airports, laws, taxes, all that stuff. And I was fighting against that. However, that was an effect. The cause is that most Americans are living more and more immorally. It doesn't have anything to do with gay marriage or anything that the fake Christian conservatives say it does. Immorality has to do, we'll learn very soon, with human ownership. Most people advocate for horrible, horrible things that hurt other people. Most Americans thought that, oh, well, we're going to go boom, invade Iraq. Oh, there were no weapons of mass destruction. Oh, well, what can I do about it? More and more welfare, which is just stealing from some and giving to others. More and more hurting other human beings. So the universe says, fine, you're going to hurt other people. We're going to hurt you. What goes around comes around, my friend. True freedom can never exist in a society that embraces moral relativism. That's the idea that there is no inherent and objective difference between right and wrong, so humanity may arbitrarily create or decide right and wrong for themselves. Wow, that's some great power. Why is this our current condition? The main reason our species continues to experience a systemic and growing loss of freedom is because we collectively do not deeply understand ownership, and we continue to commit and condone theft. And this is what I mean. Get ready. Right versus wrong. It's not right versus left, it's right versus wrong. A deep understanding of morality, principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong behavior lies at the very heart of natural law. Right. Something is right, and nobody can tell you what's the difference between right and wrong. Hardly anybody can say this. I'm going to tell you, it's so simple. Something that is right is correct. It's based in truth. It's moral. That is, it's in harmony with natural law, and most importantly, actions based in it do not result in harm to other sentient beings. On the flip side, something is wrong if it does result in harm to other sentient beings. Super simple, that's it. Right and wrong. A 3-year-old can understand this. Knowing rights. Rights are most easily understood when they are considered through apophatic inquiry. This process helps us to understand what a right actually is by understanding which actions are not right because they cause harm to others. Apophasis or apophatic inquiry. From the Greek noun apophasis, from the Greek verb apophani, to say no. Apophasis is a method of logical reasoning employed when given a limited set of possibilities in order to arrive at knowledge by way of the exclusion of known negatives. Really, it's describing what something is by explaining what it is not. Affirmation through negation. Well, something that is not okay, we would all say murder or assault. And that means going up to somebody and starting a fight, going up to somebody who's not threatening you and killing them. Rape, we'll say, is 100% wrong. Theft is 100% wrong. Trespassing, coercion are 100% wrong. These are wrongdoings. They have victims. There is harm done to sentient beings. Let's go deeper. Every harmful action that a human being is capable of taking is a form of theft. Some form of property is always being stolen when a wrongdoing is committed. Life is a form of property. Rights are a form of property. Freedom is a form of property. Natural law transgressions is theft. All of these are theft. A living being or their property must have been harmed in order for a violation of natural law or a wrongdoing to have taken place. Any action which does not cause harm is a right. No victim, no crime. That means you can do whatever drug you want because the act of doing that drug is inherently peaceful. There is no victim. Oh, but what about the blah, 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 blah? Nope. You never hear about this in this discussion of legalization. You'll never hear, wait a second, I own my body and I can do what I want with it because doing what I want with it is a peaceful action. Putting this plant or injecting this stuff, which I wouldn't do, but doing some sort of drug, changing my consciousness does not hurt other people. Therefore, it's my right to do so. There is no such thing also as the, quote, delegation of a wrong. In other words, if a specific action is not a right for any individual, then that action cannot be delegated, granted, or licensed to any other individual or group, and magically called a, quote, right. That action forever remains a wrong under natural law. Natural law can be essentially reduced to a single spiritual law, which is, don't steal. Let's talk about natural law versus man's law. Natural law on the left is based upon principles and truth. It's inherent to creation. Natural law is harmonized with due to knowledge and understanding. Natural law is universal. It exists and applies anywhere in the universe regardless of location, and it is eternal and immutable. Immutable means not changeable. Mutation is a change. Immutable means can't be changed. It exists and applies for as long as the universe exists and cannot be changed. However, man's law is based upon dogmatic beliefs. It's like this, it has to be like this. Construct of mind. Man's law is complied with due to fear of punishment. Oh, you'll get in trouble if you do that. Never any talk of, is this right? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, you'll get in trouble, don't do it. Man's law also differs with location based upon the whim of legislators, moral relativism, and it changes with time based upon the whim of legislators, moral relativism. If you put your faith in man's law, 150 years ago, it was illegal to help a runaway slave. It was wrong to help another human being get his freedom or her freedom. Instead, the right thing to do would be to put that person back on the plantation. That's what believing in man's law does to you. So instead, believe in natural law. Now the question, if we have natural law and man's law, what does this mean for man's law? It's simple if-then logic. If a particular man-made law is in harmony with natural law, the good ones, don't steal, don't rape, don't kill, don't assault, then it follows logically that it is redundant, since it is stating a truth that is inherent, pre-existing, and self-evident. Therefore, it is both irrelevant and unnecessary. We don't need to make a law that says all objects must fall to the earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, or else they'll go to jail. We already accept that. That's the natural law of physics, and then our natural laws to ethics or morality. Now, if a particular man-made law is in opposition to natural law, then it follows logically that it is both false, incorrect, and immoral, harmful, or in other words, wrong. Therefore, it cannot be legitimately binding upon anyone. Again, it was a law to catch a runaway slave and return him or her to their owner. That law is immoral and false. Therefore, it is wrong. So, in light of natural law, man's law is irrelevant and unnecessary. Equality under natural law. Everyone has the exact same rights. No one has any more or less rights than anyone else. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity, gifted to us by the creator of the universe, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of granting rights to anyone else, nor is any human being capable of revoking rights from anyone else. My rights are guaranteed by the Constitution. No, they're not. They were done that way to fool you and confuse you. Your rights come from your existence as a human being. And just as an aside, if you're interested to know what the framers of the Constitution think about you for believing that your rights come from a piece of paper that they signed, look at Demystifying the Occult Part 1, the section on owl symbolism. See what shape the street plan is around the U.S. Capitol building and what the Capitol building sits on, and then see how you feel to know that they are laughing at you. But we all got to start somewhere. Okay, let's go into some word breakdown, some etymology. Government comes from the Latin verb gubernare, again from Latin. You have a gubernatorial election to elect a governor. The U became an O, the B became a V in French, which then passed into English. Gubernare means to control, to steer, to pilot. And the Latin noun mens means mind, mental. So government means, survey says, mind control. That's what the word means. Let's look at authority or jurisdiction. This comes from the Latin noun jus, juris, law, and the Latin verb dictere, to speak, to say. Thus, jurisdiction literally means to say what the law is. Well, that's very convenient. Authority is an illusion of a diseased psyche, based entirely in violence, and built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue commands, and others are slaves who have a moral obligation to obey the masters. Authority is slavery. The belief in the legitimacy of authority is the belief in the legitimacy of slavery. I could go deeper into that, but I'll leave it at that for right now. Ultimately, authority is the idea that man can become God and through jurisdiction dictate the law. The laws are already there. The natural law is already there. It's so simple. It's so easy to understand. There's only one true divide. No Republican, Democrat, male, female, black, white, all that stuff is peripheral. The one true divide that separates humanity into two distinct types of individuals. The criterion for this divide is whether or not an individual believes in authority and therefore believes that there is legitimacy to slavery. The one true divide is between statists and anarchists. A statist is an individual who erroneously believes that there is such a thing as, quote, authority vested in certain human beings, magically giving them the right to rule over other people. This authority means that certain people, who we call government, have the moral right to issue commands to those whom they rule, those under their jurisdiction, and that their subjects, slaves, have a moral obligation to obey the arbitrary dictates, the laws set by their masters, not the natural laws, the man-made laws. Most simply put, a statist is someone who believes in the legitimacy of slavery, and that's most people who have been brainwashed with this garbage notion that if we don't have this, well, I'll get into that. Sorry, I'm giving away the secrets. Conversely, an anarchist is someone who knows that there could never be legitimacy to authority or government, because those terms are simply euphemisms for violence and slavery, which are always immoral and in opposition to natural law. Always immoral and in opposition to natural law. Wake up, people. Time is running out, and this is the truth. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. I don't care if you feel, oh, I'd be crazy if I believe this. Doesn't matter. Speak the truth and the world will get better. Hide from the truth and chaos is coming, and it is on its way. Anarchy comes from the Greek prefix an, without or the absence of, and the Greek noun archon, master or ruler. Anarchy does not mean without rules. It literally means without rulers, without masters. Anarchy means no masters and no slaves. Anarchy means the absence of slavery, or in other words, freedom. Now, true freedom includes infinite possibility. Anything could happen, which by definition includes the possibility of complete chaos. This possibility must be embraced without fear if we are to be truly free. Yeah, everything could go completely crazy and chaotic. However, it's very, very likely that it won't. It's possible that I could jump off a building and start to fly. It's possible that my skin could change to purple, and so could yours. And then we could rocket, I don't know, to the moon and breathe the atmosphere. It's possible. That doesn't mean that it's likely to happen. Same thing with freedom becoming chaos. The fear of the possibility of chaos is the fear of true freedom. Don't be like this person. It won't work out. What that is the death of the imagination. Now, I've been an anarchist for about 7.5 years now, and I have never seen people work so hard to think and to figure out ways why something won't work out. No, we got to have government or else blah, 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 blah. Oh, it would never work because blah, 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 blah. You know, I just wonder if they put that type of thinking towards thinking, well, wait a second. Right now, this sucks. Let's figure out a way to make it better. Let's start from first principles, that which is true, and let's figure out a way to get what we want. If they put that type of hardcore thinking, no, it's going to work and we're going to make it work, we're going to find a way, I believe things would get a lot better. But most people just put their focus and energy on, no, it can't work, and so it won't. As Henry Ford said, whatever you think you can or cannot, you are correct. I think it can, I know it can actually, but I'm just one person, I need some help. Through their fear of the possibility of chaos, which is true freedom, most people advocate the legitimacy and continuance of authority and government, and are therefore actually advocating the legitimacy and continuance of violence and slavery. I'll say not most people. If you believe in government, I'm saying you are advocating the legitimacy and continuance of violence and slavery. You are the one who believes that most people should be slaves to a small minority of people at the top who use mind control and hidden knowledge to control everybody else, and I'm saying you are the reason that the world is getting worse. Those who believe that authority is necessary and that it must continue have actually been duped, fooled, into believing that human slavery is necessary and must continue in order to prevent chaos. Statism is the most dangerous religion in the world. I can't remember exactly, it's over 300 million people have been murdered by their own government. Outside of war, does not include war. Government is one of the leading causes of death. Violence and slavery cannot prevent chaos. Violence and slavery are chaos. So, if you believe in government, I hope that you take a second look and try to figure out the truth and then change what you really believe in. And I hope that I can help you, as before I was a very liberal Democrat who then understood more and more and was not afraid of the truth. At first I was, but eventually I got over that fear. I learned, and my life has gotten so much better. We're going to talk about order followers for a second. Following orders means doing what you are told to do without judging for yourself whether or not the action you are being ordered to carry out is right or wrong. If an individual is following orders, that individual cannot be exercising conscience, since, by definition, exercising conscience means that one is willfully choosing for themselves right action over wrong action. It's not good. This is the result of following orders. And this will be the result of following orders unless we get with the program that is natural law. Take a good look at that picture, because that is what is coming once again. Unless we start acting right. I was just following orders is never a valid excuse or justification for immoral criminal behavior, and this lame attempt to abdicate personal responsibility should never be accepted as a valid excuse for such behavior. Justification, to create a right, from the Latin noun use, right, law, and the Latin verb facere, to make, to create. When you justify, you create a right. Gandhi said, "You assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A good person will resist an evil system with his or her whole soul." I know it's not easy, but it takes courage, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I know it's not easy to resist the evil system, but you gotta do it if you want to be a good person. Moral culpability. The determination of who is ultimately at fault or deserving of blame for the commission of actions which resulted in harm or loss to others. Culpable means at fault, deserving of blame, from the Latin noun culpa, fault, blame. Now the question is, who is more morally culpable, the order giver or the order follower? We can answer this question by asking, who is lying and who is telling the truth? When each of these groups say, my actions didn't cause that, the soldiers are lying, the puppeteer politicians are telling the truth. George Bush, Obama, Bill Clinton never killed anybody. Well, maybe, but when they invaded, they didn't go to Iraq or another foreign country and kill anybody. Instead, they said, go kill them. And all the order followers went, yeah! We'll get into why in a minute, why they did that horrible, horrible thing. These people need the most help. But the truth is, the order followers caused that. Their actions caused the resulting chaos, destruction, and evil to manifest in the world. The painful truth is the order follower always bears more moral culpability than the order giver, because the order follower is the one who actually performed the action, and in taking such action actually brought the resultant harm into physical manifestation. Order following is the pathway to every form of evil and chaos in our world. It should never be seen as a virtue by anyone who considers themselves a moral human being. Order followers have ultimately been personally responsible and morally culpable for every form of slavery and every single totalitarian regime that has ever existed upon the face of the earth. Let's talk about responsibility and abdication. Abdication means to give up your power, something like that. Responsibility. An individual's personal responsibility to choose right action or wrong action for themselves, and it's very simple, is always their own. One can only claim that they are abdicating personal responsibility for such choice to someone else. It can never actually be done in reality. More simply put, an individual is always responsible for their own actions. No cop-outs. The reason that these people do these things, these horrible, horrible things, has to do with self-respect and self-loathing. Loathing means hatred. Self-loathing is the underlying psychological condition that causes people to attempt to abdicate their own personal responsibility to exercise conscience and fall into patterns of order following and justification. Just as it is not possible for an order follower to truly be exercising conscience, it is not possible for an order follower to truly love themselves. And on the left, you have a little demon saying, I have suffered, therefore I shall cause suffering. Self-loathing is created when an earlier trauma has been suppressed and buried into the subconscious mind instead of being confronted, dealt with, and healed. Such trauma could take the form of feelings of inadequacy, whether real, suggested, or imagined. Peaceful Parenting, Stefan Molyneux, Molyneux, has a great series on peaceful parenting being another long-term effective solution for a peaceful world. Self-respect comes from the Latin prefix re, meaning again, and the Latin verb spectare, to look at, like spectator. Self-respect means to take another look at oneself, to be able to look at oneself again. Only self-respect can heal self-loathing and therefore help to put an order follower on the path to conscience. And that's what I said, these people need the most help. They have been the most damaged, and they need the most care, attention, love, and forgiveness, not of their actions, but for themselves. Because this is what it ultimately comes down to. As we said on the right side, willful ignorance is the tree, the leaves of the tree. The branches are fear of owning personal responsibility. The trunk is self-loathing due to lack of self-respect, and ultimately it comes down to abandonment issues. And you look at this boy on the left. This boy is the picture of an abandoned child. His family is ignoring him. And you see he's screaming. His eyes look a little bit crazy. His hands are tense. Look into his eyes, because they say the eyes are the window to the soul. And then look at the next few pictures and see if you see any similarity. Are you ready? When I showed my girlfriend those pictures, she said, yeah, they look like little children. And they need our help because their overlords, their owners, mock them, ruthlessly, just ruthlessly. We're going to talk about dark occult mockery of its own cult members. Occult mockery. Got a lot of symbols on here. We're going to explain what they mean. I'm going to explain what they mean. The first, checkered floor symbolism. This is a Freemason symbol. And when you hear Freemason, you go, ah! Like that. It's a Freemasonry, as we'll learn, is a body of knowledge. What one does with that knowledge can be used for good or for evil. Just like in Star Wars, one can use the Force for good or for evil, but the Force is not good or bad. It is. Same with Freemasonry. It tells truths about how the world works. What one does with those truths is up to the individual. So the checkered floor has to do with unconsciousness, ignorance, immorality, and slavery. Meaning, you're at the bottom. You take one step on the black square, one step on the white square. You do one bad thing, one good thing. Another bad, good, good, bad, bad, good, good, bad. But you're wandering around. You have no idea what is actually good or bad. And you're lost. And you're on the floor. You're at the very lowest level of consciousness. And we see that right here. On the policemen's headbands, these are from England and also Australia, right around their head. This has total symbology, and it does have an effect. If you don't think that symbols have any meaning, walk around with your middle fingers extended, or put a shirt or wear a shirt with a middle finger on it, and then see what happens. Symbols have meanings, even if we are consciously ignorant of what they mean. So the policemen's owners wrap the checkered floor around their brain. This is to tell them, to make fun of them, to say, you are so dumb, policeman. You not only believe in authority, which is a made-up thing that other people have the right to control other people and everybody else is their slave, but you'll actually go a step further. You'll go and enforce this nonsense garbage on everybody else. Ha ha, here's a nice checkered floor around your head, idiot. That's what they're saying, and that's why these people need the most help. You see here this FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. Look at Mark Passio's work. Really, this should be reversed. The two pillars in the middle and the one at the bottom should be flipped around. That's the view that we will see in a little bit. It's another Freemasonic symbol. This should be an upside-down star, which has very, very evil connotations. If you want to know more, look at Demystifying the Occult Part 2 by Mark Passio on what the inverted pentagram actually means. Not good. Hypercube symbolism. This means total control, domination, entrapment, lockdown, no escape, imprisonment, or slavery. A hypercube is a 4-dimensional cube. I couldn't get this to play, but imagine, or look this up online, imagine this small cube moving to the right and expanding as the currently large cube moves to the left and shrinks. It feeds into itself. The littler one gets bigger and the bigger one gets smaller. So if you're inside the middle of the small one, there is no possible way for you to get out. A hypercube is a 4-dimensional cube. What that means, okay, you look at the top left, you have a point. You pull the point from both sides, you get a 1-dimensional line. You take the line, you pull it in 2 dimensions, you get a square. You take the 2-dimensional square, you pull it into the 3rd dimension, you get a cube. Imagine you pull a cube into the 4th dimension, which is time. You will get a hypercube, which is a cube that continues to feed in back on itself. Now, this bottom right picture is a 4-dimensional hypercube displayed in 2 dimensions. You can see it kind of looks like a rotating wheel. Imagine it rotating, and the center, we have an octagon shape in the middle and an octagon shape on the outside. The octagon represents the hypercube in 2 dimensions. It represents the 4-dimensional hypercube displayed in 2 dimensions. And where do we find that? Right on top of the policeman's head. A black octagon, a black cap, letting no light into the top of the crown, no light into the brain, and it says, we own you. Your brain, your consciousness are totally controlled. We own you. And they know that these people, either they'll never figure this out on their own, or people don't care about them enough to wake them up. If you know anybody who's a policeman or in the army, we're focusing on the police now. If you know somebody in the police, tell them what this means. They are being laughed at by their owners, and they have owners. Okay, you see right there an octagon, and of course the policeman holding up the red stop sign. It's not an accident that the red stop sign is an octagon. Stop, stop, stop. Not only for cars, but also for people. If you want to know more, look at the movie They Live, where the man puts on the magic sunglasses and sees the way things really are. What it's saying to your brain is stop. Go no further. We see here some more police insignia. This is the Sussex Police, and you see a square with a second square tilted at a 45-degree angle. This also represents the hypercube because you take the outline of square 1, outline of square 2. The inside is an octagon. So that square with another 45-degree tilted square means total control. And again, where do they put this? Right on the front of their head, right in front of the prefrontal cortex, or right in front of the third eye, saying, we own your consciousness. We own your enlightenment, your thinking. You belong to us, dummy. That's what they're saying. Those aren't my words. Those are their words, conveyed in symbology. Because as Mark Passio said when he worked with them, in their sick, twisted worldview, if they tell you they're going to do bad stuff to you, but they do it in symbol form, and you don't know what it means, well then, the resulting harm is your fault, because you didn't say no. It'd be like if I drew a picture, and I put your name in symbolized form. Let's say your name was Martin, and I drew an M with a little A, and I drew a tin can right there. And I drew me, but I put me as like, I don't know, an I. And I drew a line and an explosion. And I showed it to you, Martin, and I said, hey, Martin, look at this. And you said, okay, yeah, cool, whatever, right? In my sick, twisted mind, I would say, oh, Martin said it's okay for me to blow his house up. I showed it to him, and he said okay. That's what these people at the top of the pyramid, they believe it's not bad. We're telling them, and they say it's okay. So that's why they do it. More hypercube symbolism. What's all this? Well, on the left, we have the Medal of Valor, which has 4 satanic, really evil symbols packed into one. First one, a square on top of a square, the stars make that arrangement, is a hypercube surrounded by an octagon and inside of a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a pyramid with the top cut off, meaning no enlightenment. It's called in the Church of Set, or the Church of Satan, a soul trap, where the soul cannot escape. It just goes round and round in circles. And then above that is an inverted pentagram, the top of the star pointing downward, representing our spirit, thrust down into the ground. 4 evil signs that they give to brainwashed soldiers who believe that they're doing a good thing, and everybody else, including the brainwashed media, says, oh, good job, you killed people for no reason, good job. Sorry to mock them, but really, we need to wake up, because they're putting it right in front of our faces. Bottom right picture, or bottom left, no, sorry, top right, U.S. Army Special Forces, the most special of the special, very special. Again, their symbol is an octagon, because they totally own them. Finally, this picture is an aerial view of Fort Knox, where the gold used to be, and it's surrounded by an octagonal fence. For no reason. It's just a coincidence. Oh, by the way, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt stole the nation's gold, the date which he said every gold must be turned in by was May 1st. The satanic holy holiday is May 1st. The communist holy holiday is May 1st. The Nazi holy holiday is May 1st. Just a coincidence. We see in MMA where people brutally beat each other's brains out. They fight inside of an octagon. Just a coincidence. Finally, Mark said, during the entirety of the time I interacted with them, dark occultists referred to the police and the military only as, quote, our dogs, or our pets, literally referring to them as animals, who they completely owned and who would unwaveringly obey their commands. And those aren't my words, they put it right there, around their neck. What's on a soldier's neck? His dog tag. Henry Kissinger said, military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. Our ruler's worldview is this. Dark Luciferianism occultists have controlled this world for thousands of years by using their own deep knowledge of the occult, that is, hidden knowledge, and natural law, and by inventing false world religions for the ignorant masses over whom they rule. It is very important to understand their overarching worldview, for we must grasp the mindset of those who currently enslave us if we hope to end their rulership and truly be free. These dark occultists fully understand that the universe is governed by spiritual laws put in place by the Creator, the underlying intelligence of the universe, and they are in open rebellion against those universal moral laws, which are here to help us grow as people. However, they believe that because moral, natural law is in place in the universe, that the universe itself is a prison, because they cannot do whatever they want and get away with it without consequence. This worldview has been personified in stories of Satan, Lucifer, rebel fallen angels, demons, archons, the Antichrist, and other anti-God archetypes who refuse to be bound by any moral standards and attempt to control creation by manipulating people into total ignorance so that they can become God. This psychopathic and megalomaniacal priest class consider those who are ignorant, apathetic, and lacking the will and courage to change the human condition to be spiritually dead. To expand on this a little bit, Hillary Clinton, one of her mentors was, what's that guy's name who wrote Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals. In Rules for Radicals, a handbook for people wanting to cause chaos in the 1960s, he dedicated his book to Lucifer, the original fallen angel. And that word just means light bringer. But anyway, he is also a dark satanic individual, and so is she. If you don't believe me, type in Hillary Clinton inverted flag, and you will see some very interesting stars on the American flag. Secondly, George Bush is the same way. He changed the Republican Party's logo from an upward pointing star to a downward pointing star for no reason. John Kerry, another skull and bonesman at Yale, his campaign sign featured a downward pointing star. But it doesn't mean anything. Let me show you a little bit. As I said, they consider the people who lack the will to change the current human condition to be dead. They don't call us people. Hey, when we do this to people, blah, 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 blah. They say, when we do this to the dead, they won't like it. And you know what? I don't like this, but for the most part, it's true. Most people don't have the courage to act. They don't think. They don't feel. Oh, well, I don't care. They only care about themselves. They don't care about anyone else except maybe their immediate family and maybe their friends, but they don't care about other people. And if they want to change, they're usually too scared. And so they talk on the internet and don't actually do anything. And I know I'm talking on the internet right now, but I talk about this all day, every day to people, and I have an effect. This is what they think of us. This is a picture from Bohemian Grove in about 1910, maybe? I don't know. I'm going to zoom in on this picture. You see a bunch of men dressed in their Sunday best for a funeral. And you see at the bottom of the picture, a man's hands and feet are sticking up through the dirt. They comically portrayed as if they buried this man alive. And he's trying to get out, but he can't. He's stuck under the ground, and they're crying, "Oh, poor guy," to absolve themselves for their sins. Let's read what the tombstone says. It says in Latin, "Hic jagit Gus." Here lies Gus. And again, 100 years ago, Gus was a very common man's name. There was no President Gus. The elite didn't name their kids Gus, but poor farmers did. So it says, "Here lies Gus. Born every minute, a sucker born every minute, died August 8th, 19 something something." And they're saying a funeral for him. They're having a funeral for poor old Gus, who's dead. Because he doesn't have the balls, or the courage, or the heart, or the intelligence, or the patience, or any other virtues to change his own situation for the better. So, who cares about him? We'll shed a few tears and go on our merry way of making this world into a prison. Because these are the people who believe that natural law and moral laws are a prison for them, that because they can't do whatever they want, they can't kill, steal, rape, maim, destroy, and have nothing bad happen to them. Therefore, that's horrible. This is not fair. So, what they do, they get other people to actually do the work. The soldiers, the bank workers, the policemen, they're the ones who actually do the stealing, the robbing, the killing. All of those horrible things are not done by them. All they do is just say it. Do this. And people will go, okay. Remember we talked about money being a false religion? So many people will accept money to do anything. You want me to stick a needle in this prisoner's arm and kill him? Okay, I'll get paid, right? You want me to tase this person who really might not have done anything wrong? Okay, I'll get paid, right? You want me to tell a bunch of little 5 and 6-year-olds that the government's their friend and make them stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance every day? Okay, I'm not going to say anything against it. I get paid, right? And I get 3 months off of the year, right? Money's coming to me. I'm okay. Completely selfish, and another false religion that they made up. To hammer this part home, here we see 16 agencies which have to do with intelligence. And at the bottom left, one which I had never heard of is called the National Reconnaissance Office. Their ostensible purpose is to put the spy satellites into the atmosphere, into space, to spy on us. However, who knows what they actually do? The following are some of their own mission patches. There are a couple from the Air Force, but most of them come from this office. And these people are at the quote-unquote top of the pyramid. You look at this graph, it comes from 1996. And you see the NRO gets the most money, and on the left axis, that's how many people work for them. There's less than 1,000, there's a few hundred who work for them, and they get more money than the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, the other two groups. They get the most money, and they have the fewest people. Let's see what some of their mission patches look like. What are they up to? Okay, we see a pyramid, and we see a rocket, and we see some stars, and an all-seeing eye. Okay, doesn't seem so bad. Above it in Latin says supra sumus. That means above the very highest. And the very highest historically has been God, the universe, creation. They are saying they are above the very highest. They are God on earth. Oh, well, it doesn't seem so bad. Oh, how about this one? Did you get that gut-sinking feeling that this was something evil and nasty? Like I did and everybody else who I show this to? National Reconnaissance Office. We own the night. Again, owl symbolism. Look up what the owl means in Demystifying the Occult Part 1 on Mark Passio's website, whatonearthishappening.com. Next. Oh, a demon right there with a black sun rising behind it. Betty. NRO. Launch 49. Primoris gravis ex occasus. First in importance after the fall. They got the Latin wrong, but that's what it means. A demon holding a trident and a wrench. Betty. This is real. And so is this. And they put this right in front of your face because they know, or they're counting on you being too scared to do anything about it. Scared of them and scared of what will people think of me if I start saying that? They'll think I'm crazy. Well, too bad for them. Because this is why things are getting worse and worse. And they're putting it right in front of your face. Dead person, if you refuse to act. National Reconnaissance Office Launch 66. Oh, 66. Nice, happy number. That's Moloch right there. The representation of Satan, where children were immolated to, thrown into the fire. It's right there. NRO Launch 38. That is Anubis, the Egyptian god of death, with a missile representing the left brain phallic penis symbol impaling the world. This is real. This is a government organization. They own you. And they're saying it right there. And they're banking on that you'll be too afraid to do anything about it. Launch 39. Nothing is beyond our reach. This comes from the Air Force, the V, I think it's Vandenberg Air Force Base, first Delta something something, I don't know what SLC-6 is. Melior diabolus quem scies, which means, in Latin, better the devil whom you already know. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Nice symbolism. Satanic phoenix, rising from the dead, rising from hell, burning the American flag. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, now we're going to get into dragon symbolism and lizard imagery. Procul este profani. Special projects. In Latin, that means away with the profane. Profane means those who don't understand, who are not part of our group. Keep them away. This means in Latin, omnis vestris substructio est servus ad nomis. This means in Latin, all your base are belong to us, making fun of the Koreans or Japanese who wrote that, an internet meme from the early 2000s. So, hey, they've got a sense of humor. Good for them. And you see, too, at the bottom right, you see 5 stars grouped together, and then 1 star alone, 5 and 1. Area 5, 1. 5 plus 1 equals 6, the devil's number. Of course, it's just a coincidence. It doesn't mean anything. Psh. Never before, never again. That's what it means at the bottom. Very nice imagery. 3 vipers or snakes keeping you away. Special projects. Flight test squadron. Again, you see the 5 stars and the 1 star. 5-1, area 5-1. Nah, it couldn't be. It's just a coincidence. You see you have a wizard here. We'll get to what wizard symbolism means. These people believe that they are sorcerers, like Saruman. They use their knowledge of how the world really works for evil and control, rather than Gandalf, who uses it for good. More wizard symbolism. This is from the Air Force, and you might say, well, see, it's not all of it. No, these people move through different organizations, they're part of one overarching organization. Again, U.S. Air Force Special Programs. Arcana Imperii means knowledge, secret knowledge of the Empire. And again, this wizard is shooting down lightning from space. National Reconnaissance Operations Center. A wizard with the sky, a cloudy sky and a full moon. This is nice. Air Force 10 Cap Special Applications. You see an alien's face, and this is similar to the Air Force's logo. The Air Force's logo is actually a demon, and you see right here, this is a demonic face right there, so who knows what that means. In Latin, it says, oderint dum metuant, which means they may hate us as long as they are afraid of us. They can hate us if they fear us. That comes from Nero, I believe, or one of the Roman emperors. Nice to put right on there. More alien imagery, eating a B-2 bomber, which looks like a fork on the left, and then something on the right, 509, I don't know what that means. Classified flight test. Gustatus similis pulus means tastes like chicken. Ha ha ha. This one means don't ask. Dark side of the moon, question mark. NOYFB. Cover your ears. None of your fucking business. And finally, si ego certiorum faciam, mihi tu delendus eris, which means in Latin, basically, if I told you, I would have to kill you. All of these are real. What in Christ's name do they have people worshiping? This is, I think it's Pope Pius VI or somebody the Sixth, John the Sixth, some hall that they built in 1971 in the Vatican. Just type in 1971 Vatican Hall and you'll get this building. This is where the Pope delivers addresses and all the cardinals sit in front of him and listen. And then whatever they do after that, molest some kids or cover it up. And behind the Pope is supposedly Jesus rising from the ashes of a nuclear war. But it looks like it's this disgusting demonic Jesus with these skulls and like withery, nasty roots. The first thought when you see this or feeling is, oh, that's horrible. And they go, well, maybe it's nice, it's modern. I kind of can see it's tasteful. No, it's garbage. Look more closely. There is Jesus's head, decapitated or about to fly off of his body, and he looks like he looks like a ghoul. And you zoom out here, you see at the very front in the top center, bottom center, that's where the Pope sits, and that's the spooky Jesus statue behind it. Take a step back, this is the auditorium hall, and it's right there in your face. Use your right brain, don't use your left brain. Try and take in the whole picture at once rather than look at individual elements of the picture. And what do you see? You see it's a snake. Do you see it? The two eyes on the left and right side, hypnotic eyes. You see on the top of its head the scales of the cobra, or whatever it is. You see two triangular pillars, I guess, representing its fangs. So the Pope speaks from the mouth of a snake, and he says that right in front of you because most people are too conditioned to say, no, it can't be like that. Fear, ignorance, confusion, control, chaos. That's how it works, and that's what they're banking on. Now, we got dark. We went down to hell. Now it's time for the way out. Albert Einstein said, "No problem can be solved by the same level of consciousness that created it." So we're going to learn about consciousness, and then we're going to learn how to elevate it, because really that's the only way to effectively solve this problem. Most people operate at the lowest level of consciousness. Most people have no principles and will do just what they can get away with. For example, if I'm outside and I have some food and I put my food down and I walk away for a minute and there's a stray dog who walks by, he's going to eat that food. Just do whatever he can. No right, no wrong, that's his, right? If I put my iPhone down on a bus bench and I walk away for 1 minute, chances are anywhere in the world it's gone. Just like the dog opportunistically grabbed a free meal, somebody, just like an animal, opportunistically grabbed a free iPhone. Or, maybe not that, if you see $100 lying on the street, that's not yours. But most people, well, pick it up. Anyway, we'll get into the low level of consciousness and then up to the higher one. But Einstein said, no problem, which is what we have now, can be solved by the same level of consciousness that created it. So we've got to go up. Can't blame others for our problems. When I say consciousness, I mean the ability of a being to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to events taking place, both within oneself and in the realm in which the self exists and operates. So a computer can recognize patterns and meaning. It can detect temperature and changes on the outside. However, a computer has no idea, at least at the moment, of what's going on the inside. It has no consciousness. It can't say, I don't feel good today. I don't feel like taking the weather temperatures today. Nope, it just keeps on going and going and going. Okay, so our brain structure and behavior, and so interesting, we never really learn about this in school, but this is really important, fundamental. Brain health plays a critical role in human behavior, so it is extremely important for human beings to become familiar with the brain's basic structure and function. I'm simplifying it, but three main complexes comprise the human brain. The R complex, reptilian brain, which facilitates basic survival functions. The limbic system, the mammalian brain, which facilitates human emotion, and the neocortex, the human brain, which facilitates higher thought functions and conscience. Here's what our brain looks like. This red and blue brain split is the neocortex, or the top of the brain, seen from the top down, split into the left and right side. We'll see why they're red and blue in a minute. This black picture in the middle represents the human brain taken from the side. So on the left side of the black picture is the front of the brain, the right side is the back of the brain, and then the top and the bottom there. That little line is the brain stem, which connects it to the spinal cord. We see here, the reptile brain is at the base of the brain. It's represented here in red. Sitting above the reptile brain, or R complex, is the limbic brain, the mammal brain, or the L complex. That takes care of emotions, whereas the reptile brain takes care of our survival, fight or flight, breathing, eating, the desires, the really deep parts of the brain. Above that, the mammalian brain, which controls more of our emotions. Above both of those is the human brain, the neocortex. The neocortex of the brain has two hemispheres, meaning two parts. The left brain hemisphere largely facilitates logical and scientific thought, while the right brain hemisphere largely facilitates creativity and compassion. We need both of them. One is neither good nor bad. Both play their part in a well-balanced individual. This is what happened, though. Many people overuse one of their brain hemispheres. And imagine if you only used your right hand for everything. Your left hand would begin to atrophy. The right side would be very strong, very adept, and the left side would be weak and not very well used. The same thing happens with the brain. When we use one of these hemispheres too often, the other one becomes dormant or silent. They've seen this in brain scans. And the brain functions as a unit. So, for example, if you only use the left side of your brain or chronically use the left side of your neocortex, then the brain will call up the reptile brain or the R complex, and the left brain and R complex will work together to command or control the individual. This is called master think. If a human being's left brain hemisphere becomes chronically dominant, the R complex will take over executive function of the brain. Emotions will become suppressed, and the person will become ruled by selfishness and base desires, and develop a personality based in domination and control. Most of our education, our school system is designed to be left brain learning. 1, 2, 3, 4, step 1, unit 1, unit 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, lesson 1, lesson 2, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, all of this type of stuff. Very little holistic, creative, compassionate education is taught. So it's not like if you use the left side of your brain, your reptile brain's going to take over. It's when people are chronically overusing the left brain and not engaging in right brain activities such as just meditation or artistic creation, musical creation rather than just, follow some lines on a page. That's not really too creative. Then when the right side is dormant and quiet, that's when the R complex takes control of the brain, and brain studies verify this. Conversely, if the left brain is quiet and somebody is just too la-di-da-di-da, everything's good, it's all good, spacey, meditate for 8 hours a day, smoke weed all day long, and their right brain is overused, the left brain becomes quiet, and the limbic system is called up to take control of the brain. This is called slave think, or having a right brain imbalance. If a human being's right brain hemisphere becomes chronically dominant, the limbic system will take over executive function of the brain. Defense and survival instincts will become suppressed, and the person will be ruled by their emotions and develop a personality based in submissiveness and naivete. Can you think of anybody like this? Can you think of anybody who has a left brain imbalance and whose personality is based in domination and control? I can. The object is free think. When both brain hemispheres are in balance, the neocortex acts in its proper role as the executive command center of the human brain, and true intelligence, that is, intellect plus the generative capacity or creativity, is born. I like to think of Apple computers being an example of a well-balanced brain. It's not just Steve Jobs, it's the whole organization. However, he got things done. He wasn't perfect, but he was very left brain. We need to figure this out. We need to get this done. This is our deadline, etc. However, he was also very holistic. He saw the big picture too. He was very creative too. He said, why can't we just fit a computer into the palm of somebody's hand? Why can't a cell phone be amazing? Why can't we make computers super, super functional and super elegant and tasteful as well? Whereas something like Windows is just, well, whatever, no real creativity. It works, good enough. Sort of a left brain imbalance. Now, the human brain, here's another view from the top. So the left side is the left brain, the right side is the right brain. The left brain has been associated more with intellect, math, science, logic, the more masculine endeavors. And it's represented by red in Chinese, philosophy, Chinese medicine, the yin-yang or yin-yang. Yang is masculine, male, fire, solar energy projecting outwards. And traditionally, it was represented by an ancient symbol, an upward pointing triangle called the blade. It's also a rudimentary phallic symbol or penis symbol. On the other side is intuition, a woman's intuition. This represents female, not womanly, but our female essence, which uses our compassion, our creativity, our whole picture thinking. And it's represented in blue. It's soft, it's receptive, and it's represented by a downward facing triangle called the chalice or the cup. This is the yin energy in Chinese, Taoist, Buddhist philosophy. Has to do with creativity, holistic thought, compassion. When you combine the two together, you put the upward facing and the downward facing triangle on top of each other, you get the union and the balance of what's called the Star of Solomon or Star of David, or really the balance of both male and female energy together. Very cool. However, the people who currently run this world like to produce a mental schism, a mental imbalance to one side or the other side. They like to create masters and they like to create slaves. I'm taking a cough drop right now. I'm going to spit this out. Excuse me. Okay. If somebody is too intellectual, they're just all in their head, all left side imbalance. If this part of the brain is chronically dominant, the following can manifest. Rigid skepticism, scientism, well, what does science say about it? Atheism, solipsism, which means that you believe you are the only thing that is real in the universe, that nothing else is real. It's totally, totally narcissistic, and it's more prevalent than people may think. Left brain imbalanced people usually are moral relativists. It's all relative, doesn't matter. Social Darwinists, eugenicists, and have a belief system in authoritarianism. We need a strong leader, like that. On the right side, that's called master think. On the right side, people with a right brain imbalance usually have the following characteristics. They're very naive. They're blindly believing. They can be religiously extreme or fundamentalist. They're also solipsistic. They have feelings of unworthiness, self-loathing. They're an order follower and a willing slave. We have to have the government. How would blah, 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 who would control me otherwise? That's what the people at the top like to do. They like to create masters and they like to create slaves who feed off of each other in a vicious cycle. For more information, go to The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. He talks a great deal about democracy and how that is not the best, but the worst, where everybody is a master and a slave at the same time. All right. These are the worldviews put forth by different imbalances. People with a left brain imbalance usually view the universe as a grand accident. It just happened. There is no creator, therefore there is no underlying intelligence in nature. There is no such thing as spiritual, moral, natural law. This is all that is. Existence has no purpose other than to continue to exist. The purpose of life is reproduction. There is no purpose. These are hallmarks of scientism, atheism, and totalitarianism. On the right side, determinists. Right brain imbalanced people think that everything is just preordained and there's no way that we can affect any change. They believe that some of them believe that God controls every event in creation. All occurrences are preordained. Free will is an illusion and does not exist. Since God controls everything, change is impossible. Sorry for the typo. Action is ultimately meaningless. These are hallmarks of religious extremism and slave think. The truth is in the middle. And the truth is there is a deterministic component of the universe, which is natural law, and there is a free will component, which is a random aspect. This is the false dialectic, the false extremes of religion and atheism. The man on the left has a severe left brain imbalance, and the man on the right has a severe right brain imbalance, and they love to play off of each other. Bam, neither of them are correct. The balance is the correct road. So we talked a lot about the occult, and I earlier said it means hidden. So let's go deeper into it, because these people at the top have information that you and I don't have, and this information is hidden from us on purpose, because it allows people to become very, very powerful. It's the real law of attraction, not the fake, selfish one that put forth in The Secret. So what is the occult? The word occult is derived from the Latin adjective occultus, hidden from sight, which comes from the Latin verb occultare, to hide, to conceal, to keep secret. Both are in turn derived from the Latin noun oculus, meaning eye. Occult knowledge is knowledge held by a few, and everybody else is kept in the dark or just given a small piece of the information. Occult means hidden knowledge. So our working definition of the occult is a body of science which is not widely known to the general population, consisting of hidden knowledge about the workings of the human psyche and the laws of nature, both seen, the physical laws, and unseen, the spiritual laws. What knowledge does occultism hide? Occultism comprises and hides two bodies of knowledge. The, quote, minor or lesser arcana, that's that word arcana again, from which arcane comes from, which means hidden knowledge. Minor here does not mean less important, it just means having to do with smaller things. It has to do with the microcosmic or the inner world. This has to do with knowledge of the self, the human psyche, and how it operates. On the other side, occult knowledge has to do with the major or greater arcana, the macrocosmic or outer world. Here, major means having to do with larger things. This is knowledge of natural law, universal moral law, and the physical sciences. Occult knowledge is a neutral tool. Like the Force in Star Wars, it can be used for good or bad. You have the light Jedi and the dark Jedi, the dark Sith. You have a sharp, sharp, sharp knife, which can be used to make a very healthy vegetarian meal. Or you have the same sharp, sharp, sharp knife, which can be used to stab somebody. The consciousness of its wielder determines whether it is used for good or for evil. So we need to elevate consciousness. It's the difference between magic and sorcery. Gandalf was using his knowledge of his magic to help free people, whereas Saruman was using his knowledge of magic or the secrets of the universe to control and dominate all life. Now the question is, why has this knowledge been hidden from humanity? Dark occultists have deliberately hidden occult knowledge in order to create and maintain a power differential between those who hold such knowledge and those who are ignorant of it. If they know something that you don't, you are an easy sucker. Light occultists have hidden occult knowledge in order to prevent its complete eradication during exceedingly draconian times, and at other times to prevent it from falling into the hands of would-be dark occultists, those who knew of the empowerment that could be gained from such knowledge, but wanted to use it for immoral purposes. So Good people hid this knowledge to prevent its destruction and to keep the bad people from learning about it. However, hasn't worked out so well. By choosing who gets this knowledge, they're essentially saying they're the owners of it. And I believe that's the reason why things are so bad today, because so few people have access to this. Open source it, let everybody see it, and then let the chips fall where they may. Now, the great work of light occultists is the distribution of occult knowledge freely to humanity, thereby ending the slavery of humanity by eliminating the widespread ignorance which dark occultists exploit to gain and maintain their control. Light occultists would be better referred to as de-occultists, because they reveal and spread knowledge which has been hidden and which must be known in order for freedom to be manifested. The two polarities we talked about with the 5 steps. If we want order, we must know how to get it. So, this is the initiation. The Hermetic tradition. Hermetic comes from Hermes, Trismegistus, which Hermes is the Latin word for... the Greek word for Mercury, or the messenger of the gods. Apparently a man or a special figure, an angelic figure, I don't know, who came down to earth or who lived and spread this knowledge to people all over the world. And the ancient Greek mystery schools were an example of this. The oracle at Delphi had this hanging somewhere, or maybe not hanging, had this in her room, for lack of a better word. Anyway, heed these words, you who wish to probe the depths of nature, that is the universe. If you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find other wonders? In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods. Freemasonry. Freemasonry is considered by its adherents to be a system of morality, which is veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. The first 3 degrees, or levels of knowledge communicated to new Masonic initiates are Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and Master Mason. These symbolically represent the 3 aspects of consciousness, thought, emotion, and action, respectively. Freemasonry is an ancient esoteric tradition which is about knowing the self, becoming a builder of a better mind and soul, and ultimately the resurrection of morality within a human being as personified by the legend of the master builder, Hiram Abiff. And author Manly P. Hall has a number of excellent books on the history of Freemasonry. It is like the Jedi. It can be used for good or for evil. There have been good Freemasons and very bad Freemasons. It all depends on the people using the knowledge. Now, this is a Freemason tracing board. What this is, when somebody joins the Freemasons or is accepted, they are given this board. And it contains all of the information in symbol and pictures that the Freemasons wish to convey. Once this information is understood and some other steps are taken, they can advance to the next level. This is fascinating. What this represents is our journey from the bottom. You see the figure on the bottom with the checkered floor, meaning in ignorance, sometimes good, sometimes bad, ascending the ladder from darkness to the sun, from darkness to light. These columns represent the 2 pillars of our brain, of our consciousness. The left pillar has to do with the left brain, solar, yang, masculine energy. The S stands for strength. And the lunar pillar, underneath the moon, the B stands for beauty, and you see the column itself is more beautiful, more ornate, more fluted. That stands for our feminine qualities. So combining both of these columns, you have the column in the middle. The W stands for wisdom. And you see the Mason on its journey, making the journey from dark to light. And there's so much more in here. It's so cool. You see E at the top, where the sun rises, going away from W, the west, where the sun sets, going away from ignorance into light. It's really, really cool. Kabbalah. Kabbalah means, quote, reception in Hebrew. Kabbalah is an ancient system of Hebraic esoteric teachings, communicated to initiates through symbols and correspondences. The most well-known and significant aspect of Kabbalistic symbolism is the Tree of Life, formed by 10, quote, sephirot, which means spheres, or emanations, connected by 22 paths. The sephirot correspond to various aspects of human mental and emotional characteristics. An 11th sphere, named Da'at, the gray one in the top center, is not considered one of the sephirot, but rather as the place from which the entire tree, quote, grows, corresponding to the realm of hidden or occulted knowledge. And the word Da'at means knowledge in Hebrew. So you see this. We're going to go deep into this one. It's interesting. These 10 sephirot correspond very nicely to the 7 chakras of Hindu or Vedic teaching. You see here at the bottom is Muladhara, or the root chakra, corresponding to Malchut, the kingdom, meaning the lowest form of consciousness. Above that, the sacral chakra, having to do with the foundation, the desire. We'll get into that. But you see here, the attributes on the left correspond nicely with the attributes on the right. Just a coincidence, of course. I mean, at the very top left, Keter means in Hebrew crown, and Sahasrara, I'm so sorry, I didn't say that correctly. Anyway, in Sanskrit that means crown. Just a coincidence. And you see here, the Tree of Life has 3 pillars. The one on the left is the pillar of severity, having to do with internal characteristics. The pillar in the center is the pillar of mildness, which has to do with balance. And the pillar on the right is the pillar of mercy, which has to do with more masculine qualities. And these correspond very nicely to the 3 pillars of Freemasonry, except they're reversed because they're seen from within the temple. Our view on the right is us looking into the temple. The Tree of Life is when we're already inside, looking back out. So these spheres have numbers on them. In their book, I believe the Zohar, I'm not that much of an expert. I need to learn more, but this is super fascinating, as we will see. They have steps to it where they say number 10 is Malchut, number 9, Yesod, number 10, Hod, number 7, Natsah, or endurance. And anyway, it goes in a specific order, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at the top, the crown. And this is the pattern with which it takes. Kind of like a lightning bolt, kind of like a DNA, kind of like a Tesla coil. Very, very interesting. Now, one last thing. I thought this was super cool. This menorah, which we've seen on the right, actually might have some deeper symbolism. It might also represent the Tree of Life. At the bottom is the base, Malchut, and then you see number 9, Yesod, from which 8 and 7 spring off to the left and right side. Then we have number 6, Tifareth, which represents for our heart or care or concern, compassion, from which number 5 and 4, Geburah and Chesed, spring off to the left and right. Da'at, from which understanding, Binah, and wisdom, Chokmah, spring off to the right. And at the very top, Keter, the crown. I thought that was very cool. Okay, tarot. The tarot is infinitely more than fortune telling, and I have to admit, I thought this was all BS. I thought the tarot was a bunch of crap, and for the most part, when most people use it, it is. But in reality, it is much, much more than that, as we will see. I will read. The tarot tradition uses rich, multifaceted symbolism portrayed upon a deck of 78 cards to convey truths regarding the aspects of our own being and the laws of the cosmos. The tarot deck consists of 2 components, the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana consists of 22 cards, 11 of which deal with aspects of the human psyche, and 11 of which deal with aspects of natural law. The minor arcana consists of 56 cards divided into 4 suits, wands, cups, swords, and coins, each consisting of 14 cards, ace through 10, plus 4 court cards for each suit. Sadly, in modern times, the tarot is looked upon by many as being nothing more than a prop in the repertoire of fortune tellers, quote-unquote fortune tellers. While the system of cards could be used as an intuitive, divinatory aid, this is considered by serious students of tarot to be an ancillary usage of the deck at best. The tarot was traditionally seen in its pure esoteric form as a means of conveying deep truths through covert means without needing to write down or even speak the message aloud. If a picture speaks 1,000 words, a tarot deck, when deeply understood, speaks countless millions. The tarot deck has 4 suits, representing the 4 elements, the 4 ancient elements of earth, air, water, fire. Top right, coins, represents the earth, which has to do with our inherent qualities or the material plane. Air in the top left has to do with the intellect, the mental plane, or the left brain too. We say somebody is sharp, somebody is on point when they are when their intellect is very high. We have water in the bottom right. Water has to do with emotions. If you're so sad, you're so watery person is somebody who is very emotional. And it also has to do with the feminine, downward pointing chalice or womb. In the bottom left, we have wands representing fire or the yang energy to make things happen. This has to do with our actions, and it's the plane of will. The magician has its wand, and he says the magic words, and then poof, the universe is transformed. We have the same power if we know how to control the other 3. Tarot stands for the Wheel of Truth. If you look at this card over here, you see at the top it says T, go to the right, it has an A, go down to the bottom is an R, go over to the left is an O, and then it starts again, T-A-R-O-T, A-R-O-T, tarot, okay? If you rearrange these letters, something very interesting happens. If you start at the bottom and you go R-O-T-A, you get the Latin noun wheel. That's where we get the word rotation, rotary. If you do T-A-R-O, that means tarot, basically. If you start with A, A-R-O-T, that is very similar to arare, the Latin verb to cultivate, to grow. If you start and go from O and work backwards, you get O-R-A-T. That word is Latin for plead, but not in the case of please do this, more of a really impassioned harangue or an impassioned speech. You're really pleading your case. That's what that word means. Again, T and then T-O-R-A, if you start at T and work backwards, you get Torah, which is the phonetic equivalent to the Hebrew Torah, which means law. And finally, A-T-O-R, which is phonetically similar to Hathor or Ator, the Egyptian goddess of love, from which many of these mystery school traditions spring from, and our civilization springs from Egypt. So you take these 6 words together and it says, the wheel of tarot cultivates. It pleads the law of Hathor, or the wheel of tarot brings order by asking us to learn natural law. The tarot's major arcana, the self and the universe revealed in symbol. When I saw this blew my head off. Not just, whoa, that was cool. Like, whoa, this is amazing. As we saw before in Kabbalah, you start at the bottom in sphere 10, you work up to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These spheres they correspond nicely to the Hindu 7 chakras. And also, spheres 8 and 7, 5 and 4, 3 and 2 have to do with the same idea, just with an internal and an external characteristic of it. We also saw that the Kabbalistic tree of life has 3 pillars corresponding nicely to the 3 pillars of Freemasonry, or thoughts, emotion, actions, or left brain, right brain, and then the third being the balance, synthesis of the two. Okay. If we start at the beginning, we see Da'at, the 11th sphere, from which all the other spheres grow. The place from which the tree of life grows from. Da'at means knowledge. And if we put the tarot cards, we lay them down, card 10 at sphere 10, card 9 at sphere 9, 8 at sphere 8, card 7 at sphere 7, 6 at 6, 5 at 5, 4 at 4, 3, 2, 1, we find something very, very interesting. And if we put card 0 at the position of Da'at, from which all these other cards are manifestations from, or characteristics of, we find something even more interesting. At card 0, at the place of Da'at, from which the entire tree springs, is the Fool. This also was translated as le soul from French, or the soul. This represents our soul. This represents our soul coming down from the spiritual plane down into the material, cold world, going away from the sun and stepping off into the cold, hard world. Now, as we said before, we have sphere 10 at the bottom, which is represented by the Hebrew word malchuth, or kingdom. This is basically our body, and it corresponds very nicely with the Hindu chakra, the root chakra, the base chakra, the lowest form, but still important. And if we take card 10 of the tarot, we have the Wheel of Fortune card. And those who grew up watching the Wheel of Fortune game show, you knew you spun the wheel, and sometimes you won $500, other times, bankrupt. That's most people. Most people do not know right and wrong. They're ignorant, and so they're just spinning the wheel with their lives. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but they are totally ignorant of the underlying causes. And you see here a bright red jackal corresponding to the red chakra. There's so much more. At the top here is a sphinx which guards the mystery school traditions. She doesn't let anybody in. You have to be worthy. Let's say you are worthy. What next? Most people spend their life down in Malkuth. However, some people want to elevate themselves. And the Kabbalah tree of life, and also the 7 chakras, say the next step up is the sacrum chakra, or yesod, foundation. This means desire. The desire not just sexually, but the desire for a better life, to be a better person, to know more, to want more, to not be satisfied with the base material concerns. To be concerned with something more. And if we look at card 9 in the tarot deck, we have the Hermit. This man is going off alone. He's still very cold. He's alone. And he's going off to learn, to study. You see, most of this picture is blue. However, something stands in stark relief. The color of his staff is not brown, not even light brown. It is orange, which I believe was deliberately chosen to correspond to the orange color of the sacral chakra. You see, he's holding a lantern, which is not any old light. It is the balance of the upward-facing solar male energy and the downward-facing yin female lunar energy, balanced together, a 6-pointed star. Not an accident. That is his goal. That is what is guiding him on. So what this deck is saying, for those of you who want to be a better person, to achieve enlightenment, the first step to get out of base consciousness, off of the floor, is to learn, study, read. No shortcuts. Be like this guy. However, this is just the first step. This is where most people stop. Most people read, and then they don't do anything with it. Or they just keep going to yoga classes. They don't actually do much with it to help other people. And as you can see, that's not enough. And the people at the top, the bad people, are laughing at you if that is your position right now. Because you made it to step 2. Good job, buddy. You're really great. But that is not the end. So if this is you, I told this to a family member who was, this family member was really, she's on the same page, and she was really ready to go on to the next level, or so she thought, but she was still stuck here. She was stuck here. So I told her to move on to the next step. I shared this with her, and it had a very positive effect. So let's see what the next step is. Okay, going back, we move up the tree of life to spheres 8 and 7, which themselves are just internal and external manifestations of the same quality. On the right side too, we moved up to the solar plexus chakra. This is the chakra concerning will, energy, guts, courage. Do you have the guts to actually go out and make things happen? And face setbacks and face opposition, because you're going to get it. Or you're going to stay like the little hermit who goes, sits in a cave, all alone, and then people go, wow, he's such a great guy. Let's build a park for him. Let's give him some bread. He's not actually doing anything. He's not making the world a better place. He sure is great, because he's only on step 2. The next step is to get the guts to go out into the world, to take what you've learned and then go out into the world. Here's what we'll see. Card 8. Oh, yellow sky. Just a coincidence. Card 8, strength. This is the courage card. This female character with an infinity symbol above her head is taming the beast. She's taming her internal beast. This lion is actually looking up very lovingly at her because it wants to be tamed. We must first control ourselves, our emotions, and I guess our inner beasts. After that, from the internal, we move on to the external. And it looks like this. Again, a yellow sky representing the yellow chakra of the solar plexus. Not an accident. You see this guy? He looks pretty cool. The chariot is going out into the world. He is making things happen. Before we had the female internal quality of courage, and then we had the outward facing quality of strength, power, and resolution. He's not going to be easily deterred. And this time, the two mystery sphinxes, instead of guarding the mysteries from him, they are pulling him onward. It is a beautiful, beautiful picture. Okay, that was 8 and 7, representing the solar plexus chakras. Let's move up. After that, the next step is to the heart chakra, the chakra of balance, anahata, or in Hebrew, tifereth, beauty. You see on the left side, these chakras all connect to this one. It is saying that the heart is the key. Care, compassion is the secret. We saw that in the first degree Freemason tracing board, that was also what it was saying. The figure halfway up the ladder is clothed in green, and she is holding the key, saying this, your care is what will ultimately lock or unlock your future. So what does this look like? In tarot, card 6, at position 6 on the Tree of Life is the Lovers, where we have the male energy on the right with the fire behind him, yang, solar, and we have the female yin energy being brought together by an angel of our higher natures. There's green in this picture underneath the sun. It's beautiful, and it represents the merging and the balance of male and female energy and care for what we are doing. Going up to the next level, after care, comes speaking, the throat chakra. The universe is spoken into existence. To make something reality, you first have to speak it, which is what I'm doing right now. The people who are dark and who currently run the world, they never shut up. They never stop talking. And they get what they want. George W. Bush, for 18 straight months, constantly said, we have to attack Iraq, we have to attack Iraq, we have to attack Iraq. All of them just kept talking non-stop. They never said, you know what, guys, we've talked about this for a long time. Maybe people are getting sick of hearing about it. Maybe we should talk about something different. Maybe they're kind of getting, I don't know, bored of this? No, they didn't care. They just said, this is what we want, we're going to make it happen, because they know this stuff, and you don't, and I didn't, and now you do. This is the next step. After aligning your thoughts, emotions, and your actions, your guts and your heart, as well as your desire, the next step is to bring it out, to start saying this stuff. Quit being shy. Stop being a little coward. Go out and start telling other people about this. And the world that you want will manifest. That's what I'm doing right now. And I hope you can do the same. Because the universe is spoken into existence. Going up to the tarot deck, we see card 5 right there. The Hierophant. This has to do with religion or control of the self. Religion usually has to do with how one conducts himself internally, how one thinks, feels, and acts. I believe this card, I see a lot of blue on there, and I see a female ovaries on the pillars behind him. We'll see the masculine representation of that in the next card. But again, this is the female representation of speaking to oneself internally, to get oneself into shape, to really control oneself for the better. I believe these two guys, red and blue again, left brain, right brain, these three people are members of the same organization, and I believe they represent the same consciousness. I believe they represent the individual, how he talks to himself, controlling the left side and the right brain to be in true balance. Then on the other side, we have the Emperor. You see here another more red and blue, and instead of ovaries, we have Aries, which also looks similar to a woman's fallopian tubes and ovaries and uterus. Anyway, the Emperor here, he's going out and he's talking to other people, and people listen to the Emperor, and people will listen to you. It's amazing how many good people are out there, and it's amazing how people are hungry for this information. And once you start speaking it, they will start speaking it too, hopefully. But you'd be surprised with the type of positive feedback and positive reception you get for speaking this type of information. It's been amazing to me, the reception that I've gotten. Okay, so those are the two throat chakras. Going back, bypassing Da'at, and going up into the higher levels, Binah and Chokmah, which have to do with, which is Hebrew for understanding and wisdom. We have the third eye chakra, which corresponds also to awakening, enlightenment, ascension at almost the very top. It's when our brain fully sees. Some people say it has to do with the pineal gland, which is at the very center of our brain, opening up and actually becoming activated. So don't drink fluoridated water because that will calcify your pineal gland on purpose. Anyway, this corresponds perfectly to the chakra system and also to the tree of life. And it's represented perfectly as well in the tarot cards. Card number 3 is the Emperor. Sphere 3 was understanding. She is the feminine top of the tree. She controls herself. We talked about sovereignty. She is a sovereign. No one controls her. The Empress controls herself. You see feminine symbolism all over the place here. She's holding the scepter, showing that she is the sovereign. She's got stars all over her head, which stars represent sovereignty. And again, there's 6 pointed stars representing the balance of masculine and feminine. And I'm going to take a drink of water real quick because I've been talking for a minute. Okay. And we're back. And on the other side, the masculine side, this totally blew me away. We have the High Priestess. A more, again a female, but a more masculine female. Her hair is short. She's got a balanced solar cross on her chest. She's holding the Torah, which again means law, and you could rearrange that for tarot. But again, she's holding the law, not man's law, the natural law in her hands. She controls the outside. The natural law controls the outside. Go out and speak this truth. Okay, anyway, you see here the B and the J on to her left and right. Those are the Freemasonic columns of Boaz and Jakim. The B also stands for beauty, which we saw earlier in the Freemason tracing board. However, she is already in the temple, so she's looking at it from the opposite side. The column J, Jakim, stands for strength. It represents our manly aspects, our masculine aspects. She's got a sun, the moon, and the stars. She's a balanced individual. And if you think, I'm stretching and, it's not really true, look at what's behind her. What do you see behind her? Directly behind her, not the water. But what's hanging up between the two columns? Looks like some fruit, right? Okay. What kind of fruit? Pomegranates. Now, use your right brain and see the whole picture, the whole fruit pattern arrangement as one thing, and see if it's anything familiar. Look to the left. Tree of life, look back. Look to the tree of life, look back. Anything? I'm going to show you because it's right there. Okay? Look at the top fruit above her head. Okay? Now look to the left here. This card, now look back to the fruit. Interesting. Okay? Now look to the left. Huh. You see it matches up perfectly. That arrangement is the tree of life. This sphere, dot, is the fruit poking out from behind her head. You see by her shoulders are cards 5 and 4, excuse me. And then below her, by her waist, is cards 7 and 8. And we cannot see the cards behind her because she's blocking them. But they're saying it right there. They're saying the natural law is the balance of the male and female. It is Freemasonry. It is the tree of life. All of this is the same stuff over and over and over. This is wisdom. This is the card of wisdom. They're saying all of this stuff will lead to wisdom. Amazing, amazing. Now at the very top, the ultimate goal is to become... We'll move up. Keter means crown. Sahasrara also means crown. And if we go back to the tarot, card number 1 is the Magician. This will be you if you follow these steps. If you gain wisdom, if you go out into the world, courage, steal your courage, go out, care about what you're doing, speak. Maybe write, but speaking is very powerful too. Get understanding, get wisdom, and then you will be a magician like him. You see, he has the infinity symbol above his head. He can do anything. He's holding the wand up, and then he's pointing down. This is the Hermetic principle, the natural law principle, as above, so below, as inside, so outside. My inner world controls my outer world, as above, so below, as inside, so outside. The big is the same as the small, just a mirror image, the holographic universe, so to speak. And on his table are the 4 suits of tarot: earth, air, water, fire, pentacles, the coins, cups, the chalice, swords, the intellect, and wand, the mental plane of will and fire and get shit done, as Gary Vee would say. This is so beautiful to me. And again, so much more symbolism. There's a snake eating its tail, the Ouroboros, his colors, red and white. The flowers were earlier seen in card 5. This is so beautiful. So this represents the soul's journey from base consciousness to enlightenment, and it's your blueprint. It's our blueprint put in card form. This is the steps to take. If you're still stuck in card 9 as the Hermit, get out of there and start being strong and courageous, and then going out and speaking this truth, and then gaining understanding and wisdom. All right. So we saw the journey of the individual. The tarot cards also mirror the journey of the world. If we take card 21 and place it at the position of Da'at, from which the entire tree springs, something else very interesting occurs. Okay? So we put that here. This is the world's journey, and it can take 2 paths, as we'll see. It's slightly different. The very base consciousness will lay the cards 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11 at the top. Card 20, judgment, base consciousness. As we said before, the people at the current top of the pyramid call most of us the dead. So this is the universe calling us to wake up and get out of our graves, to stop being dead, okay? This is birth, basically, or the cycle of life coming back again. Moving up, card 19 is the sun, and the sun represents life, truth, knowledge. The sun is all-powerful, all-knowing. In ancient cultures, that's its ancient symbol. You see here this little baby, born again, orange all over the place, sunflowers, and a big bright orange flag on a bright white horse. It's brand new. This baby represents humanity, born again, into the light, under truth, and we'll see what happens. It can take the left-hand road or the right-hand path. We'll see where they lead. Card 18, the moon. This is the first step on the left-hand path, the pillar of severity. Now you see here, a lot of darkness in this. You see the moon looks rather disheartened. You see the two pillars, the left and right brain, and also the two pillars of Freemasonry, male and female energy. And these three creatures, a dog, a wolf, or a fox, no, a wolf maybe, a dog, a wolf, and a lobster, are all, they're barking at the moon. They're remaining ignorant. They're having no effect, and they're not moving forward. Instead, they're, I don't like this, I'm not going to listen to you. They're like most people who are ignorant of what's actually going on in the world. Okay? Conversely, the first step on the right-hand path, the correct path, is the star. And we see here a lot of female qualities here, because from the inner springs the outer. When we collectively choose to pursue knowledge and grow and be humble and bow and tend our garden, good things will happen. It's the first step. The change card here, society's heart, to which all of these other cards and positions are connected, is the Tower. And it could be good and it could be bad. These could be a bad king and queen falling to their death below, or it could be good people jumping out of Tower 1 and 2 on September 11th, 2001. This is the change card, sudden change, sudden unexpected change. It could be good or it could be bad. Itself is neither good nor bad. You see the symbolism linking it to September 11th, 2001. I see very clearly people jumping to their deaths from a fiery tower. I believe the people at the top use this symbolism deliberately because they understand how this path works and they want us to go down the left-hand dark path away from the light because that would make them so happy. In their mind, they view natural law as a prison, and they would rather than serve in heaven, they will rule in hell. That's what they think, and they'll make life miserable for everybody else. But ultimately, we do it to ourselves by being ignorant, staying enslaved, and then ultimately we'll see what happens. Because continuing down the left-hand path is the Devil card, card 15. And we've got a dirty old goat-head demon, a Baphomet character, part man, part goat, part eagle, part something else, bat. And on its left and its right, we have a male and a female character who are chained to it. But if you look very closely at their necks, their chains are very loose. They could easily slip them off and go away from the devil, but they look they're rather smirking at you. They're quite happy where they are. The devil behind them is making the as above, so below sign. If you're slaves on the inside, you'll be slaves on the outside. Don't look for an external savior. Save yourself. Elevate your own consciousness. Jesus is not going to come and save you. I don't believe. I believe you will ultimately save yourself. The kingdom of God is within you. So that's the next step on the bad left-hand path. First was ignorance, barking at the moon. Then came slavery, the devil. Conversely, on the other side, the second step on the right-hand path is temperance. Containing oneself and growing in power. This figure, who before was female, is now turning more, it's a little ambiguous whether that's a man or a woman. However, there's lots of male symbolism, the red fiery wings, and also right on his or her chest is an upward-facing male symbol, the blade. But also controlling his emotions, which are the cups right here, pouring them back and forth. And you see around his head, he's starting to glow a little bit. He's starting to become enlightened. And also, to the road towards the crown, the crown chakra, and Keter, the crown position in Kabbalah, it's a lot closer. He's still got some walking to do, but it's within sight. And again, we saw earlier, the first step was a female quality, first internally gaining knowledge. Then I'd say gaining courage or perseverance, keeping still walking on that road, because it's a long road, and you see too, the grass behind him is starting to grow up to waist high. His results are starting to pay off, and we'll see what happens in the next step. However, first we'll hit the left-hand path. We saw first the ignorance card, the moon, these dumb animals staying stupid, not going on the road toward enlightenment, staying away from the two pillars, instead staying right where they are, barking at the moon. The next step up the path was the devil, the slavery card. These two individuals, really ourselves, choose to stay enslaved. As I said before, people work so hard, think so hard to figure out ways why we need a government, why we need people to control our lives. And they're working so hard to stay enslaved. And they're quite happy about it. The next step after that, the culmination of slavery, is death. And that's what's coming for all of us, really eventually, but wide-scale societal destruction, cataclysmic destruction, which is on its way unless we change our ways and embrace natural law and stop stealing from each other and stop believing in slavery, but euphemistically calling it government and authority. You see here in this card, Death riding a white horse, having an inverted pentagram, a deathly white shade flower, and a skull and crossbones representing thought and action, but no heart. First he mows down the king, and then he's going to take out the pope or the bishop or whoever that is next. The girl's already dead, and the little boy's about to go next. You see here behind him, there is a chasm that prevents these people from crossing over to the two pillars representing enlightenment, male and female balance, and the sun is setting on their world, as it will on ours, unless we make some changes real quick. So that's the end for the left-hand path. And then we'll start again, maybe. However, the right-hand path, and we still have time to switch over. If you look at the devil card, you can go from this one to the other one. We can still switch from slavery to not slavery, to wisdom and understanding. So the right-hand path again was first getting knowledge, being humble, continuing down the road, starting to gain enlightenment, and finally this card number 12, which corresponds again with Sphere 2, wisdom, the Hanged Man. You see here, this is not a bad card. This is A-OK. This is just fine. This man looks totally cool. He's totally peaceful with what's happening to him. He is connected to nature. You see red, you see blue, and you see his head is enlightened. He's glowing, and he's totally fine with it. Totally fine with being connected to nature and doing the great work, living according to natural law. And somebody pointed this out to me. His whole world is upside down now. What he saw before is now upside down. The world looks completely upside down because when we embrace natural law, societally, collectively, the world will look so different from what it currently looks like. It will be almost unbelievable how different it will look. It'll be a lot better, but, I'll just say it'll be amazing. And you see here again the journey from female internal characteristics towards male and finally a fully masculine character right there. Internal to external. Finally, corresponding to the crown chakra, card 11, the first sphere is justice. Natural law. Not man's law, but the natural law of the universe. Right and wrong. Do not hurt other sentient beings. Don't steal from them. Don't kill them. And don't make excuses for those who do. You see this king? He's the man. He's seated between two pillars. and he's got a sword pointing up. He's got the scales pointing down below. As above, so below, with the sun hanging over him, representing enlightenment. And this is so beautiful to me. This is what governs it all. This man is the king. Lex Rex. Lex stands for law. It's where we get the word legislation. Rex, where we get register, regnum. The law is the king. Not a man, but the law is a king. So, that was a beautiful allegory for how to become a better person. I look at the internal qualities every single day to get myself going and to remind myself to make it a part of me, and it's paying off. But some direct steps that you can take right now are the following. Worldview healing. Human nature, good or evil. The people at the top want you to believe that people are bad and they need to be controlled, and you're bad and you need to suffer and, that type of stuff. The truth is, human nature is neither inherently good nor inherently evil. Instead, we should consider the operating conditions or the environment in which human beings exist, which influences behavior to a great extent, thus creating the current human condition. Human beings are programmable. They're like a computer. They are not a computer, but they are similar to a computer. You say, is a MacBook Pro good or bad? What's the nature of a MacBook Pro? Well, neither one. It depends on the consciousness of the individual. Another thing you can do is you can change your diet. They like to keep people dull, stupid, and unable to focus, and it's by design. They like to keep people pilled, full of pills, thinking of that as medicine. So knock off the crap. I became a vegetarian recently. I'm just as strong as I was before. Macronutrients are macronutrients. I know bioavailability. Eat a little bit more protein and you'll be fine. Organic is a good step for the first part, but I would take the next step and really find a farmer who knows what he's doing, who makes food the right way. Or grow your own food. You won't put a bunch of pesticides and crap on your own food, and you'll be amazed at how much better it tastes. But change your diet and you will change your life, because your brain will be a lot healthier and so will your body. You'll be able to think more clearly. Okay? Monetary detachment. The current monetary system is garbage. It is fiat debt slavery. You are a slave from the money that you are forced to use. It is garbage, crap money. It always loses its value. You are losing your purchasing power every single day. You are being stolen from every day. But most people are too lazy or ignorant to care about it. If I told you, if you woke up and your bank account was missing $1, you'd freak out and you'd call the bank and say, "Hey, where's my money?" Right? But that's what's happening to you. Prices go up because they inflate the money supply. They make more and more and more and more and more and more money, which decreases the purchasing power of each available currency unit, which reflects as higher prices. So the numbers don't change on your bank account, but the stuff that you can buy sure does. Prices never go down, except in computers, which is an unregulated market, but that's another aside. But for the most part, prices just go up, 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 up. So you're getting poor, 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 poor. But nobody does anything. Nobody cares. At least so far. I hope people start to. Some people do. And if you really want to detach, this is all crap, by the way. If you really want to detach, cryptocurrencies are the way out. That's your money. It's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. Learn how to use these things. You can go on Amazon. I wrote a book called The Bitcoin and Ethereum Startup Guide by Michael McGillicuddy. The Bitcoin and Ethereum Startup Guide. I put the lowest price I could on Amazon. Email me if you want a free copy. I will send it to you. I'm just asking if I am helpful to you. Give me back something. But ultimately, that's your karma and your decision. Okay? All right. So anyway, I wouldn't recommend Bitcoin because the Bilderbergers own it. Instead, I would recommend Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Monero, and Dash, and learn how to use those. It's really not that hard, and it's so much easier than it was a year ago. Okay, but detached from the fiat money garbage. Okay, the best thing you can do, though, is teach natural law to others, also known as the great work. What is the great work? The true great work can only be performed after one has already realized the truth regarding natural law and brought oneself into alignment with it. The true great work is what comes next. The true great work is the arduous task of influencing others to go through that very same process. I'm laughing because I remember Mark Passio did a speech, and he said it's not the great fun, it's not the great play. You know, he's not a new age dipshit who wants to sell 50,000 books and says, "Hey guys, I got the solution. It's called the great work. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be real easy, and we're going to get it done real quick." No, it's a long and arduous process. But as they say, only through hard work and good stuff come. I forget the phrase. Anyway, whatever. The true great work is to help people realize that in supporting and condoning the legitimacy of authority and government, that is, man's law, that they have actually been supporting and condoning the legitimacy of slavery, and that they were immoral for having done so. In the past, you were ignorant, but now you know. So stop supporting it. Stop supporting slavery. In short, what the true great work comes down to is to get people to abandon their religions, the false and dogmatic beliefs which hold back the progress of consciousness by impeding the reception of truth and natural law. This is just a starting point, guys and girls. Keep learning after this presentation. Go to whatonearthishappening.com. Watch some of the videos. Listen to the podcast starting at number 1. It is fantastic stuff. And then read. The End of All Evil is a fascinating book. Right is Might by Richard W. Wetherill. Wetherrill. Right is Might is another fantastic book to start from. Super clear. Both of them are about 100 pages long. They're great starting points. Then once you have that knowledge, start to perform some action. What will this battle really be against? We're in a battle. We really are. This battle will be against inner demons, egos hardened into, quote, negative knowledge, where it's not what they don't know, it's what they think. Oh, I know. No, that's not true. That's not possible. It's not like that. I know. This battle will be against emotional mind control and fear of true freedom. This guy already knows. He's smart. He can do systems of equation. He knows algebra. He has a nice collared shirt on. Huh. Can't tell him anything. He already knows. The greatest enemy may not be ignorance, but rather the, quote, illusion of knowledge, portrayed like this guy. And like me, too, up until a few months ago. I had it all figured out. I didn't know the occult. No, that's all a bunch of crazy stuff. Nobody actually knows. Nobody actually cares about that. That's just all hokey, pokey. Okay? It's also a battle against emotional mind control. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. If it's unpleasant, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it, and I certainly don't want to tell others about it. I'll just ignore it and it will go away. Yeah. See how that works out for you. Good luck with that. Finally, the fear of the possibility of chaos is the fear of true freedom. It's the death of the imagination. Imagine a world better than currently. Imagine a perfect world. Imagine a world where you could set your iPhone down on a bus bench or a park bench, come back 2 days later, and it would still be there. Huh. Why can't it be like that? Why can't it be like that? It's not that hard. Don't take stuff that doesn't belong to you. It's not, and then tell other people the same thing. It's not that hard. Oh, it'll never happen. It can't be like that. It's just your imagination being dead. Left brain imbalance, left brain prison. So also, know the real enemy. Sorry if I feel pessimistic. I hope for a better world, and I'm putting my efforts into it. We'll see what happens. But I'm not going to stop talking. Know the real enemy. These people are not it. This is Bohemian Grove. These are the quote-unquote elite, which are not the elite. They're the elite of a garbage can, as Mark Passio said. They are so far from enlightened. They are not Illuminati. They are so cut off from source energy and from the higher self. They are stuck in the left brain, reptile brain. Control, control, control. I don't have enough. I need more. I need more. We need to take control of everybody. Control the laws. Control the money. Everything. Oh. These people are so far from enlightened. But they're not the real enemy. You know who the real enemy is? This. Everybody else who stays asleep. Don't tell me about that. I'm tired. I've had a long day. What can I do about it? People who stay dead, who are too ignorant, apathetic, and lack the courage and will to change the human condition. The dead. What the current top people refer to most others as. And I don't blame them, to be honest. So our mission is to wake the dead. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. Anyway, because the law of one in Zombieland, we are unfortunately attached to those who are unconscious and unaware. As unpopular it is to hear for many people, we live in a shared reality, and we will all share the same societal fate. If we want to change the world for the better, without experiencing large-scale societal disaster, our one great work lies in waking the walking dead. And before I thought, I'll be fine. I know things are going to collapse. I know things are going to get real bad. I'll be fine. I'll just go somewhere else. I'll flee to, a peaceful place. But that's running away, and there is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Eventually, the chaos will reach my door, and it will eventually reach your door unless you do something about it. It needs courage, the infinity sign. Everything is possible through courage. It's the most important virtue. Courage, as Aristotle defined it, is doing something physically dangerous. Of course it's dangerous. Of course you're scared. It involves danger to your body. You could be hurt for doing this, but you might not. Anyway, courage is doing something physically dangerous in accordance with reason, with the truth. As Samuel Adams said, if you love wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude greater than the animating contest for freedom, go home from us in peace. We seek not your counsel, nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. There were some enlightened dudes at the American Revolution. Not all of them, and not perfect, but compared to today, some pretty wise individuals who knew how things worked. Not perfect, but pretty good. Courage. With courage, all things are possible. So of course it's dangerous. Just keep going, because the alternative is even more dangerous. It will take persistence. We are the vehicles by which truth operates in the world. Therefore, it is our shared responsibility at this time to help to awaken others by continuously speaking the truth, even if we feel burdened by this task, and even if it makes all of those involved feel uncomfortable. Too bad. As the Buddha said, there are only two mistakes one can ever make on the path to truth: not starting and not going all the way. Be this guy. Go out and don't stop. Service to truth. Truth can never be destroyed, but humanity can be destroyed when we refuse to act in service to truth as her defenders. It is possible for us to co-create a positive outcome, but this can only be accomplished if we care enough to learn the truth ourselves and then develop the courage to continuously speak it to others. The 7 chakras, the tree of life, the tarot cards showing the way. As R. Buckminster Fuller said, the Dark Ages still reign over all humanity, and the depth and persistence of this domination are only now becoming clear. This Dark Ages prison has no steel bars, chains, or locks. Instead, it is locked by misorientation and built on misinformation, caught up in a plethora of conditioned reflexes and driven by the human ego. I know that. That's not true. Both warden and prisoner attempt meagerly to compete with God. All are intractably skeptical of what they do not understand. We are powerfully imprisoned in these dark ages simply by the terms in which we have been conditioned to think. He gets it. What we need to do is make an apology which means to give back the word, to say, I was wrong. Apology from the Greek prefix apo means away from, remove from, and the Greek noun logos meaning word. Hence, apology means to go away from the word, to give back the word, to say, hey, this is my word, I take it back. I was wrong. The three most powerful words in the English language. Not I love you, but I was wrong. There's a million songs. I love you, I love you, I love you. How many songs are saying, I was wrong, I made a mistake, I did a wrong thing, I was wrong? Powerful words. Humanity, we must make a cosmic apology by giving the word, authorship of law, back to God, the Creator, or the universe, its rightful owner, and collectively aligning its behavior, our behavior, with natural law. This is accomplished when we open our minds and hearts to truth, and when we start saying the lost word, no to evil. We need to be this guy. Say, I am so sorry, I was wrong. The true great work, the goal of the great work, what is it? End slavery, pure and simple. And I can't think of a better use of your time and your efforts and your talents than to end slavery. As, I can't remember who it was, somebody at Anarchapulco said, make the world a better place, because what the hell else is there to do? Really, what the hell else are you doing with your time? Service to truth. Seek the truth and then speak the truth. Now, being awake, which is what this is about, does not equate to perfection. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're still going to make mistakes. Rather, it is about doing your very best in the most difficult of circumstances. You don't have to be Jesus, you don't have to be Buddha, you don't have to be enlightened, I know everything. Impossible standards only ensure that people don't bother trying. This is BS. You don't have to be like this to affect change in the world. Never, ever give up. Truth, love, and freedom are worth fighting for. Shift happens. Will we change? Maybe, maybe not. A quantum, meaning a shift in numbers in human consciousness, is required for humanity to become free of its self-imposed state of slavery. Unfortunately, this great change is not an automatic process, nor is it guaranteed to happen at all. Whether or not it will occur is a function of the human will to learn the truth and teach it to others, and the truth is simple. This involves enormous effort, dedication, and perseverance. Look in the mirror. The truth and the future ultimately depends on what you will do. I know what I'm doing. Now it is up to you. Will you live your life under natural law? Will you accept the law as your king? Will you get inner sovereignty? Will you be able to control yourself by first attaining knowledge, by first being open, being conscious, or having the feeling of love, openness, and consciousness? Will that lead to freedom? It will, if enough of us get with the program, and the long, rusty, nasty chains will break and stay that way. And finally, we will ascend up to the stars, to that heavenly realm of enlightenment, which we all want. We all want a better life. We all want happiness. It doesn't come from money. Maybe it can, but lots of happy people don't have much money. It ultimately comes from wisdom, seeking the truth. As H.D. Thoreau said, things don't change, people do. Go. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Go out and spread the word, spread this video, and start talking to people. It's really not that hard, and it's really a lot of fun, actually. People will really respect you, and it's amazing the positive response you will get. Go.